OBS sometimes is a little persnickety, but it should hopefully be going now. And right now it's 104, 103, 102 is what I'm saying right now live. So audio may be going through, but okay. So a little bit of a there's not a whole lot that's going to be like, look at this real time, but I do have some stills and stuff, and I'll keep it up for a minute or two at a time. So. We're at 32 seconds right now. Hey everybody, Dragon Movie Guy here. Welcome to my fall movie releases live stream podcast extravaganza. It's a very special episode of the Dragon Movie Guy podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. If you're here live, we're going to be talking about all of the movies for the rest of 2023, and let us know in the comments section what movies you are excited to watch in fall 2023, all the way up through Christmas 2023. So it's all fall movies here on Dragon Movie Guy. And, what's the point of me just doing that in a live stream, in a podcast, all by myself? So I thought, who can we bring on to talk fall movies other than a new friend of the channel? I just discovered, like I somehow discovered his channel. I just came across his channel last week as he was guesting on another channel's podcast. This is a man from Brooklyn, New York. He is a YouTuber over the last couple of years. He's got 600 and some odd subs on his channel at this point, and over 300 videos. He does movie reviews. He does new movie reviews. He does first time watching movie reviews, and he does live streams across the board. And he's formulating a plan to have a massive Zach army of Zach movie reviews. All Zachs, all the time. Please welcome Zach Goulbourne of Zach Attack Reviews. Zach, welcome to Dragon Movie Guy, and thank you for coming on. My channel.
Oh man, that was one of the best intros I've ever had.
I try to keep it fresh, but I keep trying to come up with new and exciting stuff, but I usually just end up coming with something off the cuff. So thank you for coming on this fall movie releases video. It's hard to believe that fall is now basically almost here. Football's starting up, and fall movie season is upon us. Summer's over. Like, did you like the summer movie season this year? And are you looking forward to fall?
I had such a fun time during the summer going to the movies. It was Barbenheimer really set it off, so it was a blast. And there was so many movies that just came out back to back to back. Unfortunately, a lot of them bombed, but
Yeah.
I in particular enjoy it. Like, obviously I pay attention to the box office and I want movies to do well, but at the end of the day, a quality of the movie doesn't mean the box office has to be high. There's some great movies that don't do good, and we've gotten a mixture of raunchy comedies, we've gotten big blockbusters, we've gotten experimental stuff and mixed between some horror films. Probably shouldn't have come out there in the summer. Probably should have came out in the end of September, October, but we got some of that there too. So yeah, it's been a really fun time.
I almost kind of like it more if the worst thing is when movies that's just sort of like when a movie's bad. I don't like dunking on a bad movie, but there is something fun about dunking on a bad movie. Like, how bad was it? It was so bad jazz hands. Like, and we definitely got a few clunkers this summer. Like, I have my list, but what was your favorite bad movie of summer 2023?
I think it just came out. It's called Retribution with Liam Neeson. That recently came out this past Friday, the last movie of the summer, basically. And it's Liam. It's a Liam Neeson movie, but it's not as good as his early stuff. It's like a copy and paste, and it has some Lifetime elements, but they released it in the theaters, and it's very disappointing.
Yeah, and it's I just was thinking about this the other day. Like, there's a whole other subgenre of guys over 60 kicking ass in movies, and at what point does that become we still have like Clint Eastwood every once in a while coming out with like a walker and like a cane, like get off my lawn, and somehow still kicking people's butts. And so, like, at what point is it like more, grandpa versus wow, old guy still got
that
it.
This movie, I've definitely felt that during this Liam Neeson movie. I was like, ooh, your hand is starting to shake, and I don't think that was supposed to be in the script. I think it's time. Well, because back it up, man.
We got Retribution, and then we have one that's we've got one from Denzel, and Denzel's now right at that point of like, he's got some gray hairs now too. So we got all of our guys that are the movie stars that we all loved growing up. Kind of stretching it a little bit, but old man strength. It's a movie, so we'll believe the old man strength a little bit there too. So tell me a little bit about yourself. We're going to start my segment here called. Oops. This is a segment I started a while back, just calling it "Getting to Know Ya." And basically, the idea is just talk to you a little bit and find out what are your favorite kinds of movies, and how did you become a movie fan? Did you become a movie fan just a few years ago, or did you grow up as a movie
fan? So as like you said, Brooklyn, New York City is one of the biggest movie-going cities in the world. If you do successful here, you're most likely going to do pretty good across the country most of the time. And it's just going to the movies has always been part of my life. I don't want to say I was a cinephile growing up. I mostly watched like the Disney classic movies that were coming out, and then like the big blockbusters. And then when the comic book movies were coming out, that was my thing as well. No matter how bad they were, in my eyes, the fact that I was such a big comic book fan, I was just gobbling it up because we used to get one every 5-6 years. Now we get one every month. But that is what really I used to love growing up. And then there was a point where I started finding movies on my own, and I found like horror films. And I'll say that horror films are the films that got me into like movies, because like classical actors and like the big time actors will always go to a horror film. So you'll see them star in something and say, I want to see them in something else. And you'll find them in a drama, or you'll find them in a comedy, and then kind of snowball from there. And I remember watching something called The Collector, which is one of my favorite horror films. And that was the movie that kind of got me into films, because the main actor there, I kind of followed him somewhere to another film, and then I saw another actor in there, and it kind of snowballed from there.
And how old were you when you watched The Collector and it really started? Movies just kind of got into your soul, into your being.
Let's see. The Collector came out in 2009, so I was 19. I think I was 19 back then. So yeah, I'm like, oh god, I'm so old. I was 19 at that time. So that's kind of when I get out of high school into college. That's when I started really getting into films and television. I used to be more of a television guy up until a certain point where like when people needed a TV show to watch, they would come to me. That's kind of switched now that I have a YouTube channel focused on movies. I don't get to watch as much TV as I used to, which burns me so much. I love long form content, so it hurts for me not to be able to watch my Black Mirrors and all this other different stuff that's coming out. But yeah, I think 2009 is when my love for like cinema started coming through, and I started kind of going backwards and watching some stuff, and watching other films that are coming out around that time that led me to other films coming out, other dramas.
So post post high school, 19, 20 years old is when you really started taking film more seriously as a form of entertainment in a serious way.
Yeah,
What?
using cinematography for the first time,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So what made you want to start a YouTube channel?
My friends used to go on and 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 on about different things, different aspects of stuff, and they were like, you're really good at talking about this, but we don't want to hear it. So you probably should start a YouTube channel and find some people who do. And that's kind of like what it was. It was trying to discovering people who had my interest and want to talk about it the way I want to. And I found other YouTubers who inspired me, the Real Rejects, Chris Stuckman, Jeremy Johns, Double Toasted, Grace Randolph, John Campia. There's like a list of people. And I think it was these three guys called Heroes Reforged. It's these three guys who are really into like comic book stuff, and they break it down in a way that inspired me, sparked my mind. I was like, that's the way I think. And they really inspired me to like, I can do it too, because they're just regular dudes doing this, but they have like in-depth breakdowns of it because they did their research.
Absolutely, and yeah, it's one of those things too. Like, YouTube's an amazing thing because the evolution of YouTube and the style of content changes so quickly that anything that used to evolve slowly over time is now just changing so quickly that you think, you know what, I could do this for the next 10 years and I'd be happy making this content. It's like 3 months later, it's like, yeah, dude, that's so March 2020, or that's so March 2023. Like,
gotta move on.
Yeah, you gotta keep it updating, keep it changing. What's the big dream for your channel? Like, where do you want, here I'm going to sound like a guidance counselor. Like, what if you could do anything? Where would your channel be in 5 years, and what would be the dream scenario for Zach Attack Reviews?
Dream scenario is to be doing this full time, have enough subscribers where I become a name in this space that people can go to and create a positive space. One thing people know about me, if you watch my channel, I love to be more positive than negative on movie reviews. I don't sometimes enjoy dunking on films, but most of the time I don't. Like, even if you watch my reviews on movies that I don't care for, I think are mediocre, the part where I talk about the good is still longer than the part that I talk about the bad, because it's just not in me to be super negative. But I just love creating a positive space. I want to have a community. I don't want fans per se. I want a community of people that we can move and empower and just build networking. Like, every time I do a live stream, I make sure to shout out to people that I connect with. And I want to just build this community of people where we can have fun, but doing it in a practical business sense, and eventually go to like festivals and really get into those spaces where I get to talk and to directors, interview people, which I'm kind of practicing while I'm interviewing. On my channel, I have this thing called The Movies That Made Us, a live stream I do once a month, where I talk to a fellow person in this space and I interview them on the movies, like kind of what you're doing right now, but just specifically about the movies that made their taste during different parts of their life. So that's me kind of practicing me be able to interview somebody that is an actor, or I want to be able to do that. Or sometimes I'll watch a movie and I see a YouTuber that I've watched now on trailers talking about the things that are coming out. I'd love to get into that as well. So I just want to grow bigger into this space and have different opportunities just outside YouTube as well.
If you could get big enough to do to make this your career, and you could collaborate with any other person in the YouTube space, to where you have their phone number and you'd be like, oh, Jeremy Johns is calling. Chris Stuckman, I'm sorry, Jeremy Johns is online and full on. I'm picking him up instead. Who would be the dream collab for you as a movie review YouTuber?
I brought them up. It's the Heroes Reforged, just because they're the ones that kind of sparked me the most, and I feel like I would have a great time with them in terms of not being too scared. I wouldn't feel scared of like, oh no, I think they might be too big. They seem like chill guys. So it'd be easier for me to be comfortable and be able to talk and don't feel like I'm not smart enough to be in that space. Sometimes when I watch a Stuckman, who I enjoy, I love him. He's one of the greatest to do this. He's the way he talks about film, like, oh, I'm not on that level yet. He's talking about lenses and stuff like that. I don't know anything about the lens. So yeah, I would love to work with them. That's like the number one guys I would love to work with.
And you're talking about interviewing favorite celebrities. Who would be your 2 or 3 top dream celebrities to actually do an interview with in the next couple of years?
Number one, right off the top of the head, I would love to get into Jordan Peele's mind. I need to see what's the crazies going on in there. He's maybe one of my favorite movies of all time, and Get Out. I got to see where that came from, what research he did. Like, I need to know where, even if the idea doesn't fully realize, how did you come up with this? And how did you even convince someone to make this movie? How did you convince someone to make Nope? I need to know, because that is not a film that a lot of creators get to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, Jordan Peele comedy or Jordan Peele horror? Which do you love more?
I love his horror stuff more. Key and Peele's amazing, but the horror stuff is a different. Like him, Robert Eggers, Ari Aster, they're pushing heightened horror to a different level where now it's everyone can get into the space, and we're seeing some new creatives take a chance now, because like we might find the next Jordan Peele, we might find the next Ari Aster. So horror movies are like on a roll because those 3 guys are pushing it to new heights.
Well, and it's sort of funny too. Like, even if you look back at Key and Peele, the old Greek thing where they have the comedy and the drama masks right next to each other. Comedy and horror, actually, if you really think about it, the kind of content and how you set up stories is very similar in a lot of ways. So it doesn't surprise me that Jordan Peele has become such a good horror director because he's so good at comedy. And just the type of comedy that he and Keegan-Michael Key did on that show is so brilliant. That I love. He's done 3 horror films now, and I love everything Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele as well. So with that. What can people look forward to coming out on Zach Attack reviews?
Okay, so today I dropped a review for Retribution, the movie I was just talking about with Liam Neeson. I'm working on a review for Past Lives, the A24 film that I've heard so much about. I got to watch it. I want to drop a review for that. I have a live stream on Wednesday where I get to celebrate the fact that I made 600 subscribers, because my goal for the year was to hopefully make it at 500. So the fact that I made it to over 6 by August was really exciting and more inspiring for me, because there was a point in the middle of the year where I thought maybe this one might not be for me. But the fact that my community is starting to grow, and I'm starting to get comments, and I'm starting to get feedback from a lot of people that are not my family or my friends is great to see. And then I'm also usually have a live stream in the beginning of the first week of the month where I break down the things that are coming out within the month. So I should still be doing that on Thursday, and then Friday I'm going to see a movie called Bottoms, which I'm really excited for. It's this raunchy comedy coming out. You saw the trailer for it?
Yep, love it.
Yeah, so I'm going to be seeing it Friday, and hopefully I get the review out for that either Friday night or Saturday morning.
Nice, I love it. Yeah, and I'm from Seattle. I'm a huge Seattle Seahawks fan. So anytime you can put Marshawn Lynch in a movie and it's a comedy on top of that. I saw the trailer for that, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this looks." And then Marshawn Lynch pops up like halfway through, and I'm like, if I would have been drinking anything, I would have done a spit take. Because you're like
the second one for the year.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, Marshawn Lynch is encouraging high school girls to start a fight club. That looks awesome. So
the whole premise is insane.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zach Attacks, thank you for letting me get to know ya.
Thank you, man.
I'm still working on sound effects, but thank you. As we get started on our try and switch back. Okay, how am I switching that back there? Oh, okay. Boom, and boom. Very simple. Let's reach. Just want to reach out to the chat. I'm still working technically to try and get the chat box up on the screen, but Kal-El Daily, thank you for tuning in. Last week, sheesh, Zachariah is fast, is his comment. So, if is he one of your viewers, Kal-El Daily?
Yeah, he likes to give me shit all the time, so don't
Yeah.
expect that to be in the chat.
Well, Kal-El Daily, thank you for giving my channel a try out there too, and thank you for stopping by. Dave Show says, "I see it tomorrow. I am seeing it tomorrow. I know it's probably going to be bad. LOL." The Retribution. I'm assuming. Yeah. It almost looks like an SNL sketch waiting to happen, doesn't it? Like,
1000%.
Like,
oh my god, it's going to be.
Liam Neeson kicking ass movies. Like, it's almost like they've run out of titles and thesauruses to try and figure out what's another word instead of taking. Yes. Retribution. Yes, that's lots. That's 3 syllables or 4 syllables. That'll make a good movie title. Yeah.
He had a movie last year called Blacklight, and it had nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah,
there was not that word
no
wasn't even
blacklights?
used in the film. No blacklights at all. Not Project Blacklight. Nothing.
No DNA testing or like embarrassed teenage boys trying to hide things from their parents. No blacklights at all.
Nothing. I was like, jeez.
Popping the popcorn. Katie Blomberg. Thank you for stopping by. Hi, friends. She says, and Kal-El Daily also says, I've been watching movies a whole 9 months. He's been watching movies a whole 9 months. Good. So, thank you all for stopping by the chat room or the chat section of the video, and we'll try and read more of your chats along the way. Still working on trying to get chats up on the screen, but the way I have everything wired is it's a work in progress. Let's be honest here. So as we get started with our fall movie releases, the format's going to be pretty simple. We're going to start with your list, and we're going to go back and forth. Where we have movies that are the same, I'll talk about the movie at the same right after you talk about your movie. Okay. So, like if for example Aquaman comes out, I've rearranged my list to coincide with your list. So when you talk about Aquaman, then I'll talk about Aquaman. So the numbering is going to be a little bit wonky here, but you're the guest, so I'm keying all of my list off of your list, so it'll all make sense as we're going along. Hopefully we'll do roughly 5, 6, 7 minutes on each one. I don't want to keep you all night, but it's fun to have a good potpourri of discussion of movies coming up for the entire rest of the year. And by the way, can you believe that we're entering the final quarter, the final third of 2023 already?
I can't believe August is over already. It flew by.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I'm so excited for fall movie season to start. So let's talk fall movies, shall we?
Yeah.
So starting off, let's look at your number 15. And your number 15 movie is The Marsh King's Daughter. This has Daisy Ridley from the Star Wars sequel, prequel extravaganza. And it looks like it's a little bit of a murder mystery, or tell me a little bit about The Marsh King's Daughter.
Yeah, so it's starring Daisy Ridley. It's also starring Ben Mendelsohn. Some people will know him from the MCU because he was in Secret Invasion and Captain Marvel, but he's been around for a long time. He's a great actor. And it also has Gil Birmingham, who is like a character actor that's in a bunch of films and TV shows as well. So when I just recently saw this trailer and I got excited for it. I'm a fan of Daisy Ridley, and I really want her to succeed because she got a lot of shit for Star Wars, which was not her fault at all. And this looks pretty good. It's a murder mystery, like you said. She's basically the daughter of an abductor. So her mother was a young child that was abducted by a grown man, and he had her when her mother was a child. And he raised her, and he basically brainwashed her. And when they finally got him, she came from under the brainwashing. Now she has her own family, and she has a kid and a husband. And she finds out that he'd been let out of jail. And she starts finding out little things that are in her house that reminds her of him, that like he's been in the house. Things in her daughter's room that shouldn't be there, noises and different things that's going on. So I like a film that can have a good mystery, some little paranoia where you're trying to figure what's going on, but with a little bit of a character study going on as well. And I think that with these actors that are in it, it could be a really great film.
now, Daisy Ridley, very famous for being in Star Wars movies, and she's a British actress. Are you buying Daisy Ridley's American, the slightly over the top American accent that she's using in The Marsh King's Daughter?
Yeah, like I didn't notice it when I first watched the trailer, but then I saw a comment and I was like, "Oh yeah, she is doing American accent." So I watched it and I was like, "It does sound kind of weird." And I'm hoping that as the movie progresses, it gets better and she's more comfortable doing it. But I can tell, like, yeah, you're overcompensating a little bit because you don't know how to do this.
Well, we, as Americans, we shouldn't be that impressed. Like, American movies go everywhere, and she's a native English speaker, so of course she knows how to do an American accent. For whatever reason, I don't know why all of us Americans can't do a British accent better. Like, we always end up sounding like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins, like, "Hey, come down!"
That's like the only thing we ever been exposed to from Brits.
Like Chin Chimney. Like, there are other British accents that you can do. That you can do poorly. Why is it always Chin Chimney?
Yeah.
And like, well, chitty bang bang, chitty. Like, enough with the Dick Van Dyke.
Us.
Yeah, it's not doing Americans any good. But yeah, British people doing American accents always seems to end a lot better.
A lot of the best actors are British.
Yeah.
And they do American accents, you never know. Like 90% of the superheroes we've gotten are British.
Well, like for example, John Boyega. It's hilarious that he was doing Star Wars with Daisy Ridley, and his American accent is so on the nose that you forget that they're both Brits.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's funny how that all works. So
I forget until he starts talking in interviews.
Yes. And, I'm also the same way with the guy from The Wire. I forget his name, but the main actor from The Wire, something West.
Okay.
Shane West, not Shane West, but anyway.
I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
the guy from The Wire who was also in The Affair. I always forget he's British too because he does such a great, especially like Boston, New York, Baltimore accent. And then you see him do an interview, and he's usually wearing like an ascot or some sort of a scarf going over his shoulder.
Wait, are you talking about Lance Reddick?
Yeah. No. The guy from he was in The Affair on HBO.
Not Idris Elba.
No, this guy's white.
Dominic West.
Dominic West, that's it. Yeah, something I knew it was something West. Yeah, so Dominic West. I always forget. Like, I always forget that he's British. And then he shows up for some, like the Tonight Show or something, and he's got like an ascot on or some sort of scarf like flowing over his neck, and I'm like, I forget he's a British actor. He's cultured, sensitive,
like super stereotypical British.
Yeah, I think he does that just to say I am British after all. I've got the ascot on, so. So other people in this movie, we've also got. Sorry, pushing the wrong buttons. Work in progress. We also have this is a film directed by Neil Berger and written by Mark L. Smith, and Karen Dion. And also interesting in this film is Garrett Hedlund. He was in Tron. He was in the Tron Legacy movie.
Yes, I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, it's he shows up every once in a while, but it's always fun to see him. And so, what's your take on Ben Mendelsohn playing the psycho killer in this one? Are you looking forward to this?
Yeah, I think that's a bit different for him. I'm used to seeing him play either a good guy or someone in the gray, but to play like a straight up psychopath, I haven't seen him do. But the little that they've shown of him in the trailer, he looks like he's fitting into the role. Like, I feel like he got the outfit, he got the crazy beard, and he like became the weirdo.
The psycho killer out in the woods somewhere.
Following people.
Yeah. So this one comes out October 6th. Final thoughts on Marsh King's Daughter?
Yeah, I'm excited. I love like little movie. I love the big blockbusters, but I love smaller movies like this that can really just surprise you. You don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully,
Absolutely. And I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but there was one last fall where it was set down in Louisiana, and a very similar type film where it was a girl who was kind of feral, like gets accused of murder, and
where the
uh,
Crawdads sing.
yeah, I'm brain farting, but that's kind of a good fall type movie where for whatever reason it's the rural kind of setting, the
Yeah,
murder kind of being stuck on your own. So
that's
yeah,
also starring a Daisy. That's hilarious that's funny that
yeah,
you said that.
yeah,
Daisy Edgar Jones and Daisy
yeah.
Ridley.
That was it's all daisies. It's weird, it's fall. It's the time of death and destruction, but daisies, bright
Daisy.
and energetic. So yeah, they probably should always have movies coming out in the spring. But yeah, daisies are always good actresses in my book. So
Yeah.
that is the Marsh King's daughter. So because my number 15 matches up with one of yours higher up on the list, we're starting off with my number 14 film. My number 14 film is the remake of The Color Purple. And this is sort of an interesting one because I have not seen the original Color Purple from back in the 80s. And I don't know why I haven't seen it. I'm a huge Steven Spielberg fan. Love Whoopi Goldberg. Love Oprah. Love all of it. And just for whatever reason, in fact, I even have purchased on my stack over here the original Color Purple on Blu-ray that I just haven't gotten around to watching yet. As we do. So
Yeah.
never seen the original Color Purple, but whenever you can, as we move into fall now, we're starting to get some Oscar contender type films, or at least potential Oscar contender type films.
Yeah.
It's time to start thinking in terms of those emotionally deep, wrenching sorts of films and filmmaking and conversations. And, The Color Purple, I believe it was at least nominated for a couple of Oscars, the original one. So it wouldn't shock me if the remake this time around also got nominated for a couple of Oscars. And it is a lot of talent involved in this film.
Crazy.
Yeah. Anjanou Ellis Taylor, Halle Bailey from the Little Mermaid movie, Taraji P. Henson from the Brad Pitt Aging Backwards movie.
So many different movies.
Yeah,
Corey been around for so long.
Yeah, Corey Hawkins, Louis Gossett Jr., David Alan Grier, and I'm not used to. I'm old school. Like I love David Alan Grier on In Living Color, so I'm not used to seeing David Alan Grier in a drama. So that'll be interesting. But amazing cast, and got a director this time. It has Fritz Bonawale. I'm probably Bazawale. I'm probably butchering his name, so I'm sorry butchering his name, but directing and so I'm
this is a big opportunity for him.
Yeah. So have you seen any of his work before? And what's the correct way to say his name? And have you seen his work before?
I haven't heard his name said out loud yet. I haven't seen him in interviews. I need to watch him because it looks like he's done some stuff. But it's probably Bazawule. How you say his last name? I think his first name is actually Samuel, but I guess his professional name is Blitz. That's really weird, but Blitz Bazawule.
That's a better pronunciation than I was doing. So the first trailers have come out, and it's just it looks emotionally wrenching, and it's a tried and true story in terms of filmmaking. So so that's number 14 on my list. Are you excited for the Color Purple remake to come out here too?
I've also haven't seen the original, which is like a travesty. I'm almost gonna get my black card taken away every time I tell people that. But I haven't seen the original. I want to go watch it before this one comes out, just so I can have some reference and just to see a classic film like that. I think we own it as well. I think I own the movie and I just never watched it. But just like it's a little hard for me to watch like the old timey films like that. Sometimes I'm kind of over like the slave or segregation kind of films. I've seen a lot of them. They are important to come out because we always need to remember what happened so it doesn't happen again. But for me, I think I've had enough of it. But because of the cast here, I think I want to support it. I'm really big fan of Halle Bailey. I think she's such a wonderful person. Well, from what she's shown us. And Cole Domingo, who I'm a really big fan of, he recently, they just coming out that he just won an award for an early screening of this film.
Oh,
So he's like a front runner right now for Best Actor because of that, because he won the award that Brendan Fraser won for The Whale. And I really think he's an underrated actor. I've seen him in a couple different things. He just does such a great job. Danielle Brooks, another one she was in Orange New Black, and she's gone on to do great things. Corey Hawkins, who was in The Voyage of Last Demeter this year, I think he did a great job in that as well. And like you said, David Allen Greer doing something serious is so weird, but I'm excited to see Dion Cole, another comedian who I'm not used to seeing do serious things. He's doing like commercials for like Axe. So to see him in like a serious movie now is really interesting. But the fact that I've never seen the story before, I'm really excited to see an updated version, see what they do with it.
Yeah, and it's funny too because like God, who was it? Anyway, I'm butchering my point, but Dion Cole used to be a writer on Conan several years ago. So there's that whole thing about Martin Scorsese. Oh, this is my point. Martin Scorsese figured out this formula. Besides casting Margot Robbie when she's 23 in The Wolf of Wall Street, the idea is that it's easier for comedians to do drama because doing comedy is hard. So it's easier to take talented comedians and have them do dramatic acting than having dramatic actors try and be funny on camera. So with The Wolf of Wall Street, that's part of the reason why that film had such great chemistry is they cast all of those comedians that you've always seen on late night talk shows, but you probably don't know their names, as all of the people in the phone bank on Wolf of Wall Street. So it's interesting, completely different style movie, also Oscar bait, but interesting the idea of Dion Cole and David Allen Greer in the Color Purple remake. That's sort of an interesting combination because I'm probably not going to be able to sit through the entire movie without at least flashing in my mind somewhere Two Men on Film.
Yeah.
Hated it, loved it. So I'm sure I probably won't be in the middle of the film, but I'm sure right before or right after. But yeah, so Color Purple, my number 14 film. Your number 14 film this is one that kind of almost made it onto my list, but when you're talking seasonal movies like this, it's there's so many coming out in the fall. So appropriately enough, Anatomy of a Fall coming out in the fall. Tell me about this. I was
going to be really mad if you didn't make that joke. Oh man. So this is actually a trailer I saw in the theaters. Watched it. It came out in theaters like a while ago. I think this movie got pushed. I think it was supposed to come out earlier, but I think it got pushed to avoid this crazy summer bloat that we had. And then I saw the trailer recently again last week, and I was like, this looks like it's down my alley. Another movie that's kind of like The Marsh, King's Daughter in terms of feel, not the same subject matter, but another mystery film of, this wife who they're accusing of killing her husband, who was pushed off like a 3-story building and murdered and killed. And they're using things that are their arguments and infidelity and trying to, it feels like they're trying to frame her, but there's also a feel of like, maybe she did it. I like films like that. It's a little Lifetimey, but it feels like it's going to be done. There's a lot of Lifetime films done like that, but it feels like it's going to be done in a professional manner that will feel a little deeper than a Lifetime film.
Hopefully, at least. If you got the budget for not being shot on video and actually having good cinematography and a decent cast.
Exactly.
Interesting here. Director is Justine Triet or Triet. Triet. Writers are Arthur Ferrari and co-written by Justine Triet. I have not heard of any of these people in the cast. So yeah, so just watching the trailer though, you're right. It does sort of have a little bit of that Lifetime movie of the week vibe to it, but hopefully better.
Yeah.
And yeah, this sort of, even just the log line of the woman suspected of murder and her blind son is the only witness.
Such a Lifetime thing.
Yeah. But
I think it's one of those things where they feel like this is the only way to advertise it. There's a lot of movies like that where like the quality of the film is not great in the advertising because they don't want to reveal what it's actually about. So
yeah, and the idea of a blind eyewitness is sort of funny. But then again, you know what? Daredevil's actually pretty good. Completely different type of film. But Anatomy of a Fall looks interesting at the very least too. So comes out October 13th. What have you heard? Seen any of these actors in anything else before? Because I don't. I'm struggling to recognize any of the actors that are on display here.
That was one of the things that I was like watching the trailer. I was like, do I want to put this on my list? Because I don't see any. Like, I don't know the actors. I don't know the directors. But I just was so intrigued by the premise, and then I saw that it already has like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, like, obviously, that's not the end all be all because sometimes Rotten Tomatoes, the critics don't like movies that I like. But it's just a little bit more reassuring that maybe it's good, you know?
And are you much of an indie film watcher? Like, I love indie movies, and like, especially this August. This August has been one where we haven't gotten a lot of big superhero movies coming out, but we did get a lot of indie movies. So, are you an indie movie watcher?
Yeah, my favorite production company is A24, and that they got me into like Neon, Focus Features, and a bunch of the indie stuff. They opened my mind to watching more weirder, more slower paced films, more character studies and stuff like that. That's why I love something like The Joker, because it's not an indie film, but it has the indie feel, but it has the big budget and everything like that. I think Gone Girl made it maybe the movie that really opened me up to that, because it's not an indie film, it's Ben Affleck film, so obviously it's not indie, but it has that feel. It just has high production values, and it just hit me in a way I was like, whoa, this is very different from everything that's coming out. It's slower paced, takes its time, and then it got the ball. That's one of the things that got the ball rolling. So I love independent films. Some of my favorite movie of the year right now, well, not my favorite movie, my second favorite movie of the year right now is Beau is Afraid.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. And that's super indie.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to it, but yeah, Beau is Afraid. Oh man, I went off on Beau is Afraid. I love the whole cast, and I love the director, but that mommy issues, really, the entire 3 hours mommy issues.
This is Ari Aster working out his mommy issues.
Yeah, he really does. He has some issues. There's definitely a show in there somewhere. There's a podcast at the very least that an Ari Aster and his mommy issues.
Yeah,
coming to Dragon Movie Guy Fall 2023. Looking at my number 13 movie. This is a film with Paul Giamatti. It's directed by Alexander. Pull it up for a ring. Alexander Payne. Who, for everyone who doesn't know, Alexander Payne did Sideways. He did The Descendants. He usually comes out every couple of years with some sort of. He's an indie film movie director, and he usually comes out with a completely different take on filmmaking every couple of years. Not completely unattached to everything, but he usually doesn't tell the same story twice. And in this film, The Holdover, Alexander Payne is telling the story of it looks like it's in the late 70s, early 80s, because they even do the trailer in the style of that sort of 70s dramatic horror film kind of a thing with that style of grind. That, you know, like when Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez did Grindhouse, and they have that very specific voiceover guy style, like that sort of that overly baritone, but like AM radio style recording. Like
Yeah.
that's the guy doing the voiceover in the Holdovers, and that it's just such that very specific way of doing of telling us what era this is, because this is set at a boarding school with people that are so wealthy that their parents come and pick the students up in a helicopter. And Paul Giamatti is the teacher at Christmas time who's left behind, left over, held over. He is the holdover. He is the one teacher left behind to watch over the students whose parents didn't care enough about them to send the helicopters to pick them up
Oh my
for the
god.
holidays. So you can imagine all of the stuff that we get, all of the kinds of things that we get with the rich, the spoiled rich kids,
Of
the
course.
kids with too much money and too much time on their hands, and a
Yeah.
period piece set in the late 70s, early 80s. Great cast. We got Paul Giamatti, we got Carrie Preston from Orange is the New Black, or actually no, sorry, True Blood. Carrie Preston is in True Blood, and a whole cast of young actors who I haven't seen before, but I'm sure we recognize their faces from all sorts of different things. So
Yeah.
The Holdover is my number 13 film. Have you seen it? And comes out October 21st. Have you seen the trailer for The Holdovers?
No, this is the first time I'm hearing about the film, and I'm very intrigued now.
Yeah, and Alexander Payne is one of those directors where he doesn't put out bad films. So if you're talking even just Sideways and The Descendants and
Oh, he did
Nebraska,
Downsizing? Okay.
yeah, and Nebraska was one that he directed a couple of years ago. That was the black and white one.
Yeah.
That was all about an adult son learning to come to terms with his father, getting sick and passing. So he usually does fun, has moments of levity and fun, but also has a really dramatic story to tell. So I've never seen a bad Alexander Payne movie. So yeah, so that's my plus Paul Giamatti, and for anyone who's seen Sideways, that whole Pinot Noir, his whole rant, anything Paul Giamatti's great, but Paul Giamatti's rant on Pinot Noir being basically urine, and so to see, so that's why I'm really excited to see Paul Giamatti re-teamed up with Alexander Payne, and pissed off at the holidays, pissed off at life, pissed off at these kids that he doesn't get a couple week break from. So.
Being the Grinch.
Yeah. Being the Grinch.
It sounds like it could be very good comedic effect, man. That sounds like a comedy.
Yeah, and this is another indie film, and it's sort of weird because the trailer takes a more emotional turn halfway through, which is, it's a bit incongruous. It doesn't make sense with itself in some ways, so that's why it's not higher on my list. But I love Alexander Payne, and just in general as a filmmaker. So yeah. Holdovers is number 13 on my list. Comes out October 21st. Your number 13 film is also one that I'm excited for, and this is Poor Things.
Yeah.
This is I want to say his name correctly, Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yeah.
And this is the guy who did The Lobster. This is the guy who did
The Favorite.
Yeah, The Favorite, which also had Emma Stone in it. So tell me about Poor Things.
Yeah. I was looking one day. I was looking like I want to do a trailer action. I haven't done a trailer action in a while, so I typed in trailers on YouTube a couple months ago, and I saw Poor Things. And I saw Emma Stone. I was like, oh, I love Emma Stone, and this looks weird. So I did it, and I was like, what the hell is this? And it looks like a weird version of Frankenstein and its creator, or Frankenstein and the monster, and Emma Stone being the monster. And I like the idea of it having like a Wes Anderson kind of feel, but not being totally Wes Anderson, because sometimes Wes Anderson goes too far. But I love that it has that wonky feel to it. But it looks like the monster who Emma Stone is playing is like a child in the beginning, and through the trailer, it looks like she's starting to learn different things, learn about relationships, learning how to be properly interact with people. And I think that could be really, really interesting on a dramatic side, and I think it'd be really, really funny on a comedic side. So this director, he does really weird movies. He's made one of my favorite movies in Under the Skin, with
That's the other
Scarlett
one.
Johansson. He's done a really, really great job with that. Obviously, he did Killing of the Sacred Deer, which I haven't gotten to see, but I heard great things about. And she wrote on a show called IO on Netflix, which was really, really solid as well. So he has a great track record, and the cast is actually pretty stacked for this movie in like an unnecessary way.
Do
He
we really need Mark
has,
Ruffalo? Yes, you
yeah,
do. It's Mark Ruffalo. It's Mark frickin'
yeah,
Ruffalo.
yeah, Emma Stone, William Dafoe, Margaret Qualley, and Christopher Abbott, who are actually in one of my favorite movies this year that came out. Oh my god, I'm saying that and I can't remember the name right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. And Margaret Qualley is the shoot, Andy McDowell's daughter. So
yeah, she's in this movie that came out. I always got to go to Letterbox. This is how I remember everything because I can never remember stuff.
well, there's so many films from that.
Sanctuary.
Yeah.
Sanctuary with Chris Abbott this year, which was really, really good. So I'm glad to see them team up. And he has some comedians here, and I think a theme through this stream is comedians doing like serious work. And Rami Youssef from the Rami Show, like maybe
Oh,
taking a serious turn here, and I think that could be really, really cool. Gerard Carmichael, another comedian,
yep.
taking maybe a serious turn here, and I'm interested in see how those performances translate in this kind of weird film.
Yeah, it's hard to know what to make of this film in and of itself. You know, it's such a it's a weird thing. You know, I took this as a screen cap from the actual movie poster, and it's Emma Stone with, I wouldn't even really call it eyeshadow, but two different colors of eyeshadow sort of smeared across her above her eyes and below her eyebrows. But yeah, she's such a great actress and can do comedy as well as drama so well. I love her, and and seeing her do the whole Frankenstein's monster thing at points in this trailer is really interesting. And then Willem Dafoe. The makeup on Willem Dafoe looks so bizarre. I keep thinking of just one Best Actor.
Recently?
Yeah, last year for The Whale.
Oh, Brendan Fraser.
I keep thinking Brendan Fraser in Doom Patrol.
Oh,
Brendan Fraser in Doom Patrol, which is a DC Comics streaming show on HBO Max or just Max now. He plays sort of like a Frankenstein's monster type character, but more of a robot. So for whatever reason, the makeup on Willem Dafoe to me looks like that character for whatever reason. Obviously, it's two different styles of film, but I was really excited for this one too, and this is the first crossover on our list. I have Poor Things. I have Poor Things as my number 6 film. So yeah, super excited for this film as well, and love everyone about this film. And it's just such a bizarre film that I don't really know the tone. Tone is such a weird thing because even just looking at Yorgos, if you just looking at this director's filmography, if you look at The Lobster is so under emoted and bizarre, and yet The Favorite is one that I believe got a couple of Oscar nominations, and even just within his filmography, he does vastly different styles of filmmaking. So this trailer alone is one that I honestly I've watched it 3-4 times now, and I don't know what this movie's gonna be like.
It goes back to like Alexander Payne, how he doesn't do the same movie twice.
Yeah.
It feels like this guy doesn't do the same tone twice.
Yeah.
He's just like, let's try something different this time.
Yeah, and I really, I love trailers. I really hope that the trailer is not a complete. It's not a misdirection. It's not a misdirect. for the type of film that it is, because it doesn't happen very often that is a possibility. So I really hope this film is good, and anytime you see these type of indie films too coming out in December, right before the start of the year, you can kind of feel that these are the ones that are supposed to get the Oscar nominations, or at least be a dark horse to be nominated for an Oscar. So it's closing thoughts on Poor Things.
Just overall, a lot of people complain about there's no original films. It's just remakes and blockbusters. It's Disney Live. Go support these kind of movies. Do a little bit of homework. It's not that hard. Literally, all you have to do is type in trailers. Type in weird trailers. Google Emma Stone. Like, Google your favorite actor, and they probably are coming out with an original film that you never heard of. This is something that needs to be supported.
Absolutely, and Emma Stone especially, because she is one that can be Gwen Stacy in Spider-Man, and she can also do comedy. She can do
Easy A is one of my favorite movies, and she killed it.
Yeah, and she does everything well. She never. I mean, hell, L.A. L.A.
La La Land.
La La Land. Yeah, you know, my brain farting here. I'm doing a full Richard Lewis here. La La Land. She can dance even. She can sing. Knew that Emma Stone could sing. So yeah, love Emma Stone, and hopefully, fingers crossed that this movie is actually really good as well.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of other people in the chat, which I'm not used to. So thank you for bringing your viewers to my live stream. Rob Christensen, who I was on Rob's podcast last night, we were talking about a not good film, but we were talking about Gran Turismo. So great video game, a lot of good actors in it, good director. But,
you didn't like Gran Turismo?
Swing and a miss, sadly. I love Archie Medically as our lead character, but that film did everything that Days of Thunder did right. That film did wrong, sadly.
Okay.
IMHO, in my honest opinion. But anyone that wants to watch that after this, go to Rob Christensen's channel and check out that live stream that we just did last night. Spoiler Kings is here. He says, Poor Things looks weird and awesome. And that is that sums it up perfectly for Poor Things. He says, what's up, everyone? And also we have Movie Time Minute. Hey everybody, here from my man Zach, a new subscriber to Dragon Movie Guy. So thank you. Thanks for sharing the love, Movie Time Minute. And Movie Time Minute, and anyone who's watching Movie Time Minute, what movie are you most excited to see in the fall of 2023? Let us know in the chat there. So thanks for checking in with us.
Remember to like the video.
Yeah, like the video, subscribe, share. Sharing also is one that we never talk about. We always talk about likes and subs, which are great, but comments and sharing of videos are just as important to all of our YouTube channels for praying at the altar of the YouTube algorithm and trying to get the attention and everyone to like us. So thank you. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that, and let us know too in the chat there in the comments section what movies you're excited to see this fall. Let's move back to your list. I think we went through mine there. Your this is one that we were just kind of talking about in the intro. This is
old man.
You know, he's not old yet. He's older. But he's old enough to have a trilogy for the Equalizer. This is Denzel kicking butt, taking names, and going full Liam Neeson on an unsuspecting Italian village where he's trying to retire. Looks like I actually haven't seen any of these films yet, but definitely need to catch up on the Equalizer. So tell me, your number 12 movie, The Equalizer Part 3.
Yeah, so I recently watched the first two this year. I think I watched the first one like 3 months ago, and then I saw the trailer for 3. I was like, oh, there's another one coming out. Let me go watch 2. And I'm like in the minority of people that like 2 more than 3. 2 more than 1. A lot of people like 1 more because it's a little bit more focused. But these are fun films. I don't think they're like John Wick level or like the best action films ever. But Denzel's so charismatic that he doesn't even need to run around for you to like him. In these movies, he really just like stands in one place most of the time and kind of walks slowly. And I think they found a way to get around his physical limitations to make the action interesting. He has this like tick about him where he kind of sees what's coming before it happens and can kind of plan out all the fights before it happens and then do it. So it's kind of cool to see how he breaks it down each time. And he's like the man of the people kind of character where he's always helping. He's one of those characters that like he has a phone line and he's listening in, and if he hears something like someone needs help, he goes help them. That's the type of character he is. And we don't get a lot of movies like that anymore. I know this is like I believe Equalizer is a remake. There was an Equalizer series before, and then now they made this movie, and then there's another Equalizer series. But I like Denzel. I like the first two films, and I like that they're not going to try to overstretch the franchise because he is like getting to 70 years old, so start getting a little unbelievable that he's doing this. And it's cool that he's going to be in a different country this time. Each movie is set somewhere else, so I'm excited.
Yeah, and I keep getting the vibe of Liam Neeson in Taken of being, like he's the guy, and we even see it in the trailer of, I'm giving you 9 seconds to leave everyone alone and get the hell out. Which,
Yep.
Which in some ways too, it kind of goes back to like old westerns from like the 40s and 50s, where the guy in the bar of the old west that you don't want to mess with is the one who's absolutely still and motionless.
That's Equalizer. That's
perfectly
described it.
And it's like, in real life too, like if you go into a bar and there's a guy sitting at the corner by himself, that's the guy that's the Navy SEAL that you don't want to mess with. Like, not the guy who's like kind of puffing up his own chest and like throwing it, it's the guy in the corner that just wants to be left alone. That's the guy that's the Navy SEAL, that's the Special Forces, all those kind. Yeah, that's the guy no one should mess with. And that's sort of the impression that I get from Denzel in the trailer, at least for the film.
Yeah, and time is a big thing in the movie. It's funny that you brought that up in both films. Kind of like he's always I think he has ADHD, but he's on the spectrum somehow where like he has to do like, if he has a bad thought, he has to tap the counter 3 times, or if something bad's about to happen, he has to set his watch for a certain amount of time. There's a little aspect of that in the film. I forgot what it's called. It's not ADHD.
Asperger's
or
autism?
Something on that. I don't think it's autism. OCD. He has OCD in the extreme way where like I have a friend that has it in a way where I remember one time he got up and he had a bad thought and he had to sit down and get up 3 times. Like that kind of thing where it affects your motor skills and you have to kind of do things because you think something bad's going to happen. There's a little bit of an aspect like that there where it affects his action skills. So I think also that's really cool where there's like that slight representation there of people with a disability. So I think that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah, and that is sort of an interesting thing too. Like we don't generally think of people with special needs like that kicking ass in films and being an action star. So that's sort of a different take on the action film star genre. Sort of interesting too. She's all grown up now, but Dakota Fanning, showing up with Denzel, and I can't remember the title, but wasn't she with Denzel in a movie when she was a real little kid? I think.
Yes,
I can't remember the title.
Man on Fire.
Yeah. So Dakota Fanning, she still acts. She's not completely out of the business, but she doesn't do as many films now. So, are you excited to see Dakota Fanning showing up in the trailer for this? To me, it looks like she's not a huge part of the film. It sort of looks like she's showing up at the beginning or the end or something. Like she's the one with the Mission Impossible assignments or whatever. It sort of feels like that. Like it doesn't feel like she's the co-star of the film for whatever reason. But are you excited for Dakota Fanning showing up here too?
Yeah, it's just cool that they worked together so long ago, and now she's an adult and they get to work on a different franchise, a different action movie. And I think Dakota Fanning is a talented actress. I think her sister is also a talented actress.
Yeah.
I know that Dakota does music a lot, and that's why she's not in a bunch of different movies and shows all the time. But yeah, she's done some really good things as a child. She's the voice of Coraline, which is a great animated film, and I'm excited to see how much of the she's in the movie. If it's just not like, oh look, oh my god, they're pairing up again, and that's what they're doing to get people in, or she's actually in the plot.
And you said you watched you already rewatched the first two Equalizer movies. Which is better of the two?
To me, I like the second one more. I think the third act is a lot stronger in the second one than the first one. They're both very similar in kind of the plot that's going on, but I kind of like the characters in the third act better in the second one.
And would you be surprised if Dakota Fanning shows up and starts kicking butt too?
No, I wouldn't be surprised at all, because that's kind of what the way action movies going, where they have to have like a sidekick, and now it's usually a female sidekick. So I can definitely see that. It would have made more sense for Chloe Grace Moretz, who was in the first movie, to come back and do it.
Yeah.
Because we already know she has the ability to look like she kicks ass. And she was in the first movie. The whole movie was about him helping her. So that would have been cool. But it's fine. I like the fact that Dakota Johnson there. But it'd be cool if she's also kicking ass. And it would help, since, Denzel can't move his knees. So it'd be cool to have another action person in there to kind of like move around and do something else.
Now, just off the top of my head, who would you rather see play Denzel's son in an upcoming movie? Just random movie of your choice. Who would you rather see cast as Denzel's son in a movie? John David Washington or
son?
Jay Farrow doing Denzel Washington? Who would you rather see as Denzel's son in a random upcoming movie of your choice? Who would you rather see?
Can they just be twins and both be his kids? I love the idea of like John David Washington's serious son, the one that like is super serious and looking for his attention, and Jay Farrow is like the goofy one, but he's just really good at stuff, and that's the one he favors. And he's like, he's a goofball, but he's really good at everything. I love that idea.
And John David Washington's like, Dad, he's making fun of you all the time. He's like, I am not making fun of. Like, so I like him. We relate to each other.
Oh, and speaking of that, I gotta say, Antoine Fuqua, I'm really glad to see him doing action films. Another really good director. And, I gotta bring it up because, we don't get a lot of black directors doing action films. So I love that he got his own trilogy. And he's getting to finish it out. And he wants to do a prequel with Michael B. Jordan, which I'm like, he doesn't look like Denzel. That's gonna be weird.
Yeah, that would be... Yeah, I love Michael B. Jordan, but I would struggle to see. You know what? That actually that'd be like seeing Average Joe. That'd be like seeing Joseph Gordon-Levitt doing a young Bruce Willis. Like, they don't really look alike, and they really don't have the same personality.
They had to do the whole thing.
Yeah,
I love that movie, but it was a weird choice.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't see him playing a young version of Denzel. But Jay Farrow and John David Washington could easily
book it.
Yeah, and Antoine Fuqua. What's your favorite Antoine Fuqua film?
Let me look.
Is it Training Day or is there another one?
Let me make sure. It might be Southpaw.
Oh, interesting.
With Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah,
I'm a big Jake Gyllenhaal fan. And I think that was one of the better boxing movies that we've gotten in the last couple of years, other than like the Creed movies.
That was in the Jake Gyllenhaal really, really, really trying to be the new Robert De Niro phase of his career.
Yeah.
Doing Southpaw, then the Taxi Driver ripoff, Nightcrawler.
I like Nightcrawler though.
Back to back in there. But it's when I was watching Nightcrawler though, it was exactly like when I was watching Gran Turismo. Like, yeah, but Days of Thunder did it better. Like, this is a bad Taxi Driver ripoff.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me, and I just I love Taxi Driver. So anything that compares by comparison pales by comparison. See, moving up to my number 12. My number 12 is The Killer. And there's really not much to this film yet. There's no trailer. There's not even a movie poster yet. This is
actually, the poster came out today.
Oh, did it?
Yes.
that's what I get for not waiting until the last minute and actually producing the podcast the day before. So the poster is apparently out now. I have yet to have see the poster. But, anytime you can have a film directed by David Fincher.
Mm-hmm.
And, David Fincher is just one of those directors that it's weird because you don't... when you think of directors, I think of Scorsese, I think Spielberg, but David Fincher as being the next generation afterwards, it's not even like I think of him first, but whenever you think of films that David Fincher has done, they're always at least good. And they're better than what they probably should be. He makes good films turn into great films. And even something like Social Network, David Fincher is amazing. So the fact that this is David Fincher, Michael Fassbender, Tilda Swinton, I'm just in reading the log line here. It's all about a near miss as an assassin battles his employers and himself. Like it's like I get nothing from the log line.
Yeah,
but it's to me this entire thing. And, if I knew more and if I had seen the trailer, it'd probably be higher on my list. But if it's the killer, and it's Michael Fassbender and Tilda Swinton, I love everyone involved in this film.
Yeah.
And even when you look at, the other people in here, Arliss Howard has done great stuff. Charles Parnell is the guy that, he's the guy in the background who adds gravitas for whatever reason in everything that he does. And he has a line or two here or there, but
solid character actor.
Yeah, it kind of shows up here and there, and So I honestly don't know much about Killer or the Killer. It's still a few months away. It's coming out November 10th. But David Fincher, Michael Fassbender, and Tilda Swinton, sort of a murderer's row of talented actors. Probably a little bit too early to be considered an Oscar hopeful type film, but I love all three of these actors and looking forward.
I think it might be coming out on Netflix as well. It might be a Netflix film.
Oh yeah, I forgot to. I'm still playing around with how I label everything, like on the lower third there. So yeah, I think it might be.
Not 100% sure.
Yeah. It's
being produced by Brad Pitt's production company. Okay, I didn't know that.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Loves some Brad Pitt, and Brad Pitt is such a we don't really think of him as a producer, but he was a producer on 12 Years a Slave. And
Plan B Entertainment, that's his production company, has a prolific track record. I'm not gonna lie.
Nice. Yeah, and in the comments section too, we've got Preston Review saying, new David Fincher movie, count me in. Comes out this week. No, it comes out in November. But super looking forward to this film. And I haven't even seen the trailer. And I haven't even seen the poster. You're ahead of me there too. So, are you a David Fincher fan?
Yeah, Fight Club, one of the best movies ever created. And he just he's another director that he has a feel, but he doesn't make the same movies over and over, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He has a feel to his things. I was talking about Gone Girl earlier. Seven's another one. That's a big one. So he has a good list of movies that you can watch, and they're mystery movies, but it's done so well that you can watch it again, and even though you know what's coming, it's so good.
Well, it's funny too because you think Seven, like, what's in the box? That could easily be one of those it could easily be one of those lines that everyone makes fun of, or like Al Pacino, hoo-ah, hoo-ah, like that, like, what's in the box? No, what's in the box? But when you actually see that scene, it's so what's in the box.
So well. Yeah,
but it somehow it just works, and it is interesting too with David Fincher how dark his aesthetic is, just the subject matter and just visually his style of filmmaking. And yet, it's not as depressing as a Zack Snyder type film, for whatever reason. And I know I jump on Zack Snyder a lot, and I jump on Zack Snyder fans even more than Zack Snyder. But He's the
You're
one
coming for me, man. How
Yeah,
could you?
he's the one Zach that I would not want to have on my channel. Every other Zach,
no.
other than Zach, no, I kid. If Zack Snyder wants to come on, he is more than welcome to come on. But I will ask him though about Batman v Superman. If you come on, Zach, I'm warning you, Zack Snyder. If you come on. Yeah. So what is Fight Club is your favorite film from David Fincher?
I think it might be Gone Girl, but Fight Club is probably number 2.
Yeah, both great films. So
Yeah.
that's my number 12 film on my list. Your number 11 looks like it's a horror film, right? It's It Lives Inside. What it is to be revealed. It's probably the thing that's, if it's in the title in a horror film, it's a thing that kills people. This is a film that it stars. I don't think I've ever seen any of these people in any other film, which is pretty common for horror films. And it's directed by Vishal Dutta, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, or her name correctly. So tell me about It Lives Inside.
So what drew me to this is that one of the star, Megan Surrey, is in a Netflix show that I love called Never Have I Ever. And she's very charismatic in it, and it's a show that I love. I'm a fan of the teen high school comedy shows, and she's in that. She's great. And then she's also in a show called Poker Face, where she ages up just a little tiny bit in that, and she's playing a little bit of a more of adult person. And I think that she's a talented actress. She doesn't get much to do in terms of like her side roles, but the little that she does get to do, she's charismatic. So I'm excited to see her be in a horror film, because you get to be dramatic and then you also get to be scared, which can show a range of emotions. And she is of, I think, either Indian or Pakistani descent. And it seems like this film is playing on a monster, a mythological monster within that culture, which I've never seen before, at least an American film. And it's coming from a director from that part of the world. So I'm excited to see what's different about it. We got Talk to Me this year. That was an Australian horror film, and there were things in that culturally that makes that movie stand apart from other horror films. And I'm hoping that happens with this film as well.
So is this one where she's playing someone who's new to the country? Is she playing an immigrant herself, or is she playing?
I think she's first generation, and her family are immigrants.
Gotcha. Because that's always an interesting thing too. Of when casting, when casting, does someone should or can or should they use whatever native accent was her family's accent in past generations, or if she is American, should she just use her American accent? That's sort of an interesting representation question that sort of is always interesting to me, because I'm half Asian American, I'm half Japanese, but I'm fourth generation American both sides. So both of my ancestors are equal likely to, because I'm half Japanese, half Norwegian. So both sides of my family are equally likely to get in a boat, drink alcohol, and invade their neighbors. but both sides of my family have been in the country the same amount of time, so so the idea of me trying to do a broken English Japanese American accent makes about as much sense as me doing a bad Norwegian accent. So that's sort of an interesting thing of just demographics and casting and everything, and
I think that divide that you're talking about is part of the reason that enticed me about the film, because she's more American than the rest of her family. So they warn her about this thing, and she's not believing it because it's just a cultural myth or whatever. It's not real. It can't be. And she's stupidly not paying. Well, it's not stupid. You don't know you're in a horror movie, so she's not paying attention till it comes, and the thing that's there seems like it's a parasite, and the way it is like, when it's trying to feed on whoever it's trying to feed on, if you're trying to help that person, it kills you. So it's going to be interesting how that works.
And that's the great thing about horror films. If you can get if you can get a good, simple, just a really simple conceit, if you can get a simple killing device or a simple character trait, and have a good, talented storyteller, and because it's a horror film, it's very low budget, then the odds of it being a huge hit, if it's done right, if the filmmaking's done right, you can see sequels for the next 10 years, all made made on a credit card, basically. So hell, just look at Megan in the last year. How popular Megan got just from a real life woman dressed up in a really bad doll costume, and yet the storytelling was done well enough. And you're right. You're also talking about Talk to Me. That's another one.
Boogeyman that came out early this year.
That very simple,
did really well.
Yeah. Yeah, so I could totally see how this, if this is a film that's done right, I could totally see it falling into that category of successful, generating, it lives inside 17, coming out in 2027. You were saying that she was in a Netflix show. What was the show that she was in?
Never Have I Ever.
Okay, nice. I've heard of it, have not seen it, but yeah, that's a show that gets a lot of attention and seems to be very popular. So, always fun to see these young stars emerging and trying to go out and get a star vehicle for themselves. Like, you think back to Jennifer Lawrence doing the cabin at the other side of the road or whatever. Like even Jennifer Lawrence has done horror films in there too. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting
like
to see.
Like a rite of passage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which in and of itself is a sort of a horror film in real life, just without the body count. But yeah, so hopefully this is a film that does well and that she can be a good star vehicle and launch her career to bigger and better things coming down the road. Jumping up to my number 11. My number 11 is, it's one that, my number 11 is, and I'm going to humble brag a little bit here because I was able to go to CinemaCon. And I've been taught, anyone who watches my channel knows I've been humble bragging about going to CinemaCon this year. And one of the quick snippets that we were afforded to at CinemaCon was a quick clip or two of Anyone But You. And this is Glenn Powell from Top Gun Maverick. This is Sydney Sweeney from Euphoria and The Voyeur and The White Lotus. This is the two of them in a romantic comedy set in Australia. And there hasn't been a single poster out for it yet, and there hasn't been a trailer out for it. But the idea is it's a rom-com, it's a romantic comedy, and their arch nemeses reuniting after graduation years later for a destination wedding down in Australia. And at CinemaCon in late April, they literally had just gotten off a plane in Las Vegas, and they went straight to Caesar's Palace in Celine Dion's Coliseum for the presentation. And they said they had literally gotten off a plane, an 18-hour flight, and they had some quick footage there for all of the theater chain people that decide how many theaters are going for every film. So that has me excited. There hasn't been any trailers or press coming out because everyone's on strike right now in Hollywood. But as far as rom-coms go, I'm not traditionally a huge rom-com fan. It's something I've gotten more into in the last couple of years. And any time you get Sydney Sweeney, anything Sydney Sweeney's in, oh my God, that woman.
She's so good.
Yeah, and she's going to be in a Spider-Man movie coming up. She's going to be in Madam Spider or whatever it is. Madam Web. So
she's gonna be is it Barbarella? I think she's doing a remake of that.
It wouldn't surprise me because if anyone can pull it off, being that talented as an actress, and not having any limits as to what she's willing to do on camera, in terms of filmmaking, she is such a talented actress, and all that to be said too. With Glenn Powell, one of the the better parts of Top Gun Maverick as the one sort of very stereotypically cocky fighter pilot.
He reminds me of Chris Evans a lot. In terms of you can see that he can do more, but he's stereotyped so hard into like the suave guy who comes off as an asshole but has a heart of gold. And I'm pretty sure that's what he's going to be doing in this movie too.
And that poor guy, you're right. He's the guy that, who do we want for this role? Well, we can't really afford Chris Evans. All right, get Glenn Powell's his agent on the line.
I'm really rooting for him to be Cyclops. I feel like he could knock that out of the park, and that'll be his role to make.
He kind of old to play Cyclops, though.
I guess, yeah. It depends on if they do the whole the X-Men's always been their thing, then he can be the right age. But if it's starting from scratch, then no. But it's funny that you brought this movie up. There's been a lot of drama coming from this movie before it even comes out, because people have thought that Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell have been in a relationship, and Glenn Powell's married.
Oh,
so there's been a lot of crap going on with that going on, because the stereotype is when you do a rom-com or you do a movie where you have a romantic relationship, usually it turns into something real. We've seen it happen a couple times, more times than we should have probably.
Method acting.
They got too serious into the method. So there's a lot of pictures where it feels like, oh, they look like a couple. So, and they haven't come out to say no. So a lot of people are like, oh my God. So I think it might be a little bit of a publicity stunt, but it's been fun.
They wouldn't be the first, set of good-looking actors who hook up on a movie set. You look at Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt on Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You look at
all the Spider-Man actors.
Yeah, exactly. Emma Stone.
One.
Yeah. Andrew Garfield, and honestly, too, going back a little ways, Halle Berry, and on the set of Monsters Ball.
Oh yeah,
her and ironically Angelina Jolie's actual real life husband Billy Bob, they hooked up on set.
Yeah.
So that would not surprise me at one iota if Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell method acting.
Yeah, we're in Australia.
Yeah, halfway around the world.
It's funny. I'm seeing there's another Never Have I Ever actor in this film. They're everywhere now.
Yeah.
Darren Barnett.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That too.
Yeah, it's fascinating how many actors show up in these different films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with the director, Will Gluck.
Yeah, he's a comedy director. I can't name any off the top of my head, but Will Gluck is one of the guys that he's in that group of Will Ferrell and all of the other, maybe not so much the Will Ferrell, but that next generation of directors. Kind of like the Judd
looking him up.
The Judd Apatow kind of school of comedy of the.
Oh yeah.
I would need to look it up, and I can't in the middle.
He did Easy A, which I really love.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Emma Stone, Easy A.
Friends with Benefits, which I really love too. Yep. He did the Peter Rabbit movies, which I haven't seen, but I heard they were good.
Yeah, haven't heard of them, haven't seen them.
Yeah, and he did an Annie movie. Which one? The 2014 film? Oh, that movie was okay. So he has a decent track record. So, let's see.
But I mean, heck, Easy A alone, because Easy A is one it would have been easy to be. Easy A could have been easily forgettable.
Yeah.
But it's one that, it still gets played on television now 10, 12 years later. And it really was, it's not surprising that it was a launch vehicle for Emma Stone into Oscardom. And A-list status. First guest in the Tonight Show kind of stuff. So, so anyone but you is my number, what was that?
Yeah.
Moving on to your number 10. Mm-hmm. And this is one that it's another horror film. It has the potential to be very, very scary. This is now, and I'm not a huge fan of the series because but insanely popular. This is what, the 7th or 8th different Exorcist film. Tell me about The Exorcist Believer.
It's funny that you said that because I've never seen any of the other Exorcist films before this.
Really? Not even the first one?
Not even the first one, but I'm planning to do a watch along on my channel before this comes out, so people could see my reaction to how scared I am. Because my brother, who's my older brother, he's the one that like put me onto everything that I love, basically, as a child. Power Rangers, anime, comic books, boxing films, you name it. He put me into everything. He told me not to watch this film. He said it scared the shit out of him. So I've never watched. I was like, if it scares him, then I'm not watching it. But now I'm old enough. I've seen enough horror movies. I can watch it, and I'm excited to check it out. But the trailer for this, I thought, wasn't like something extraordinary, but it looked really good. It looks like it can be something really fun. It is part of a franchise, and I'm more excited about the idea of it than maybe the actual movie. The actual movie might just be okay, but the idea of it being like the next scary movie that can rival The Exorcist is a idea that I'm intrigued by, and it's going to get me into watching the original one. So that's why I'm kind of excited about it.
Yeah, just don't have any pea soup before going to see The Exorcist.
No, I might not eat it at all.
It looks like a pretty decent cast too. Ellen Burstyn, who's been in a little bit of everything. Jennifer Nettles, also Leslie Odom Jr. It kind of surprised me a little bit that we're getting name actors.
I think Ella Burstyn was in the second one or third one or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know the extended history, but yeah, she's got a history there for sure. Yeah. And the imagery from this trailer is really calling back to the original Exorcist from like 1972. The whole the split pea soup and the that's my Exorcist impersonation, by the way. But yeah, it looks really well done. It looks it is a very scary film too. By the way, it's the original. I mean, I haven't seen this, but yeah, the original Exorcist is there's a reason why going full Linda Blair is a catchphrase. Like, I don't know, like, did you ever watch Glee?
I've seen parts of it. Yeah,
that was one of my favorite pop culture references where one of the characters on the show goes, "Oh yeah, I went full Linda Blair last night. Yeah, we had food poisoning." Just Linda Blair and the whole Exorcist phenomenon is such a great film. But that surprised me though that you haven't seen any of them. Your older brother, is he a huge horror fan as well?
Yeah, he's a huge horror fan. But something about that movie, he doesn't like ghost stuff though. He feels like it's too real for him when it comes to like possession and ghosts and demons and things like that. So that part of horror he kind of stays away from. But like slashers and other kind of horror films like that, that's kind of his wheel bag. It's just scared the shit out of him.
So more Freddy Krueger, less demonic possession kind of horror.
Right on the head.
And I'm sure is your taste in horror films sort of similar in that vein too?
I'm not a huge big fan of possession film. Hereditary scared the shit out of me. I love the movie, but I was like, oh no, I don't like what I see.
Yeah, Ari Aster, very unique taste in filmmaking. Because Midsommar was quirky, but really, really weird in its own right. But yet so well done. Like, because that's one that you don't even like. I didn't even know what I had heard the word of mouth about Midsommar, but I didn't quite know what I was watching. And then even at the end, you're like, well, it was something. I don't know what it was, but it was good. It was something.
And I watched the interview with him, and he said, "Yeah, I didn't expect people to be scared of my movies. They're all comedies." I'm like, "What? This is not funny. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What is a comedy about Hereditary?"
Yeah.
Did you know you seen Hereditary?
No, I've not. I've seen Midsommar, and I saw Beau's Afraid.
But you haven't seen Hereditary.
Yeah, I've not seen it yet.
Probably
it's on Max. I need to watch it. It's on Max, and he's only done 3 films. So I definitely need to watch it at some point here.
Oh no, I think he did 4. He has Something
did you
About the
4?
Johnsons, which is another weird horror film. Oh my god. I was like, oh, Ari Aster, let me go check it out. And I was like, oh, what was he doing with this first film of his? This is disgusting.
Hopefully less full body costumes in Hereditary than were in Beau is Afraid.
No, none of that.
That was very disturbing on a lot of levels. Like, what the heck am I watching?
The attic scene?
The anatomy scene. The male anatomy, full size, body size, yeah.
Oh my god!
You're like, what in the? Oh man, Guy got issues, and not just Beau has issues. I think Ari has issues. Yeah,
he's telling us something to cry for help.
Yeah, he's. I think filmmaking is his therapy. So yeah, that comes out perfect time. Comes out right before Halloween on I'm assuming Friday the 13th on October 13th. So The Exorcist Believer, number 10 on your list. Number 10 on my list is another rom-com, and this is Love at First Sight, and I have seen the trailers for this. This is Haley Lou Richardson. This is Ben Hardy, who I've seen before, but it's one of those things where you've seen the face, you've heard the name, but I don't really associate the name with the face as of yet. But it's a pretty simple premise. It's like a lot of other rom-com premises. It's a very simple premise, but they get on a plane, they fly from New York to London. They're both good-looking people. They sit next to each other. He has a charming British accent. And, of course, he gives her his number. She loses her phone. And they have to somehow meet up and let love happen. It's a rom-com, but there is something where you take talented actors. And Haley Lou Richardson is such a talented actress who I don't think has... She hasn't really broken through... And gotten she's like the second guest on the Tonight Show level of fame, but she's not the first guest on the Tonight Show level of fame.
Yeah,
I still remember watching Haley Lou Richardson in The Bronze, which was the sort of the Tonya Harding wannabe, but set in the gymnastics world from Melissa. Big Bang Theory. High voice. She was Howard's wife.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know the blonde one, right?
Yeah. Well, the other. She was the other blonde one. She wasn't Kelly Cuoco.
The smart blonde.
Yeah. Glasses and the high voice. It was her movie.
Melissa Roche.
Melissa Roche. That's right. Melissa Roche's movie that she did with her husband, and Haley Lou Richardson was the up and coming sweetheart. Gymnast in that film, so she was great in that film. She's really good, and usually in supporting roles or smaller independent films. This, I believe, is a Netflix film, and it's coming out in a couple weeks on September 15th on Netflix. This is one that I think could be a sneak hit. And I'm really rooting for her because she also did a streaming movie on HBO Max called Unpregnant, which was a little controversial given the subject matter. But, really talented actress, very funny, and I love the idea of seeing her in a rom-com, focusing more on the rom than the end, like Unpregnant was. But
and more in a leading role, like you're saying, finally seeing her more in a leading role.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a couple of actresses that maybe have her look that's a little ahead of her, and that's probably why she doesn't get it. But she's probably the more talented one out of the people that are ahead of her. So yeah, you're right. I'm a fan of her too. So I'm hoping that this is like a breakout thing for like if people find her on Netflix and just fall in love with her.
And sort of funny too, just looking at the cast here. Jamila Jamil, also a very talented actress, but Rob Delaney. Rob Delaney, for anyone who's seen Deadpool 2, Rob Delaney was the guy that Deadpool thought was catfishing him. Because he shows up a little bit out of shape and with a porn star mustache. So, when they're coming up with X-Force, Rob Delaney's the guy that Deadpool calls Sugar Bear, with the porn mustache, with the porn stash, and meets a very quick end. But that's Rob Delaney as well, and he shows up there on the
Yeah. Haley Steinfeld's also in this, who I'm a fan of as well.
Yep.
She was in Bumblebee. She's now one of the Hawkeyes. And Robert Sheehan, I think that's how you say his name. He's in the Netflix show. Oh my God. I hate when I brain fart on these things.
Well, there's so many of them. There's so many streaming shows.
But this is like one I really enjoy. I shouldn't forget. The Umbrella Academy. There we go.
He's that show. Yeah, great show. Elliot Page and also Justin H. Min, who was in After Yang and got nominated for a couple Oscars. So yeah, Umbrella Academy, very underrated superhero show. Underrated.
Yeah.
So all the talented people across the board. Another Netflix type film. So I'm trying to get in the spirit of trying to enjoy all genres of film. Trying to get more into rom-coms, because that's definitely an area of film that I haven't gotten into traditionally as much in the past. So, Love at First Sight, modern cell phone adaptation of getting on a plane and going places. That's my number 10 movie. Let's look at the chat real quick. We've got Spoiler Kings. Yes, CinemaCon. I'm jealous. Yes, working the contacts. Going to CinemaCon. If I was wearing a tie, I'd be tying my tie up there. Preston reviews. Fight Club is all time. Yes. Oh yeah. Social Network. Zach, come on. But Fight Club is all time. And then Kal-El Daily checking in with a what? Not sure exactly what it's in reference to, but.
Probably something I said.
Yeah, we've had a wide ranging discussion, so it could be to a whole lot of different things there. Yeah. So let's go back to your number 9 movie. Your number 9 is a very talented actor, probably the most emergent of the young actors out there in young Hollywood. Tell me about Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka in Wonka.
Yeah, Timothée Chalamet has 2 roads ahead of him. Depending on what he does, he's either going to be the next Leonardo DiCaprio or he might be the next Johnny Depp. And both of those are really great, but I would rather be Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm not going to lie. just for like consistency purposes. Like Johnny Depp's career kind of started just like started doing similar things in a way where people are like, oh, you're playing another weird person.
Yeah, and if Timothée Chalamet ends up dating Amber Heard after this, we know which road he took.
And they're saying he was dating like a Kardashian, which is like an equivalent. They suck the life.
That's even worse.
Anyone? Yeah, it is.
That's even worse.
They Amber Heard and just tell her, don't poop, don't do that in the bed. They just suck the life force out of anybody that they're dating. But he's super talented. I know, like. Tom Holland has kind of put a shadow a little bit on him. He's like Tom Holland's like he's like Timothy's like Christian Bale and Tom Holland's like Leonardo DiCaprio in terms of like they'll go for Tom first before they go for Timothy for a role. Like he was up for Spider-Man and they picked Tom. But Timothy, he's so talented. I think he's the more talented actor. I didn't really care for Bones at all, but he was great in that. Call Me by Your Name. The Greta Gerwig films that he's been in. He's just a really talented actor. He's really good at playing sad people. And I think that
hit it on the nose right there.
Yeah. And I think the Willy Wonka role,
acting epitaph there. He's really good at playing sad people.
Even in Dune, like I love the first Dune, but he's playing a sad boy. He's playing the sad savior.
If he ever smiles, he probably smiles all the time in real life and no one recognizes it. So he probably doesn't have to have any security at all if he smiles. No one recognizes
him. Hold up. You're not Timothée Chalamet. Where's your grin? Like, where's your upside down grin? He's one of my favorite young actors, and I think that the trailer convinced me. Because when they first did it and they showed the picture, like, oh, he looks really cool. Maybe too cool to be Willy Wonka. But then when I watched the trailer, I was like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. He kind of has the flavor of the original actor. He kind of looks like him when they did the side-by-side pictures. And I think that this will give him an opportunity to break out of that sad boy persona and show his range as maybe doing comedic stuff, because he was on SNL and he did a great job with comedic bits. So I'm really excited to see what they do here. I was like, why would he need a prequel? But they convinced me that this might be a good reason to do it.
And it's such a tough thing, especially when you want to channel Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
I think in some ways, if he would have channeled more of the Johnny Depp type character, that would be a lot easier, because, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory it's one of those iconic movies that's now 52 or 53 years old, but it's timeless. And Gene Wilder is famous for doing lots of films, tons of other films, but I would argue that he's most famous for playing Willy Wonka, and his take on Willy Wonka it's so iconic and mysterious and haunting, and yet still fun and appropriate for kids. So the idea of Timothée Chalamet as a really talented young actor taking on that mantle as a prequel, and we all have mixed feelings about prequels, and it's such a daunting acting task that I wonder how this movie's going to actually do, because it has a decent sized budget, it looks like, and anytime you can do a prequel and have the introduction to characters, it's always a risky proposition. But such a challenge.
It's like, what information are you giving me now that I needed to know? That's basically what it is.
And we've already had a full trailer out for it, and it's one that, if I'm totally honest, it's one that I'm still digesting. Because it is about a guy with chocolates. You gotta digest it a little bit more. It's not just a pop and go. It's chocolate. It's not cotton candy. My God, if there's a Willy Wonka version of cotton candy, that'd be even more. That'd be crazier. But it's and if I'm being honest, I don't really know what to think of him doing a slight Gene Wilder impersonation. But he's such a talented actor. It's hard. One thing's for sure is the fact that this is a film that's coming out December 15th, right before Christmas. And it has the studio's confidence. It has an Oscar caliber actor, and the balls.
Strong director.
Yeah, and the fact that they have the balls to go straight after Gene Wilder, not in a challenging way, but having the balls to channel his character, his take on Willy Wonka, is such an amazing thing. And then when you look at the cast for this film, the fact that we've got Keegan-Michael Key. We've already talked about Keegan-Michael Key. Keegan-Michael Key, Olivia Colman, who's an Oscar-nominated actress, and of all
Olivia
people,
Colman,
and Rowan Atkinson, comedy legend.
Yeah.
And the big one here, Hugh Grant, Mr. Rom-Com himself, as the Oompa Loompas. Like, I can't wait to see that. And the charming English gentleman as an Oompa Loompa.
He was so great in Dungeons and Dragons early this year, a very underrated fantasy film that we got.
Oh yeah, yep.
He was a great villain in that, so I'm excited. I'm down for his renaissance. Everybody's getting renaissances these days.
Yeah,
I'm down for the Hugh Grant renaissance,
the Grantissance, if you will. And he was also in the what was it, the Guy Ritchie? He was in a Guy Ritchie flick earlier this year. Was
it The Covenant or no? Operation Fortune.
Operation Fortune. And he was the villain in Operation Fortune. He went full character actor as the villain. It was great. It was I
still gotta watch that.
Is that? And it was not that it was like the perfect Guy Ritchie film, but it was a fun Guy Ritchie film, and to see Hugh Grant, and Hugh Grant pops up in a lot of Guy Ritchie films, but to see him pop up as the villain was great. And so Timothée Chalamet, brilliant, and and not the first time he appears on our list for this fall as well too. December 15th. December's going to be packed this year.
Oh yeah, Warner Brothers literally has, I think, 3 or 4 films coming out in 12-day span, back to back to back, which makes no sense to me. You're making your own movies fight against each other? That's silly.
Well, maybe the studios learned something from Barbenheimer. So
Yeah.
maybe if they're different enough, they can actually, it could be like a food island where you actually want restaurants. Yeah, you actually want them. Yeah, you actually want them all kind of coming out at the same time.
Yeah.
So that is there too.
Wherever we can get people in the cinemas, that's my thing.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. My number 8 movie is now this is an interesting one because it is straight to Apple TV Plus. This is it's a rom-com comedy. I mean, it's more drama, I think, than comedy, but it's a single mom in Ireland with her teenage son, and they struggle financially, and she wants to do something nice for him because he's getting in trouble, and one more strike and he gets to be sent off to juvie. And so she goes and buys him a guitar, and he comes home, he's like, what is this crap?
What am I supposed to do with this? And he throws the
guitar away. So she's like, they don't have a lot of money, so she's like, all right, well, I got this guitar, I can't take it back. So she starts taking guitar lessons, and music comes into their lives, and we actually have a pretty decent cast here. We get Eve Henson, who I've not seen before. She's the single mom. You have Joseph Gordon-Levitt showing up as a YouTube Fiverr type guitar coach, and Jack Rayner as the dad, I believe, and then Orland.
He's playing dads now. That's insane.
Yeah, it's a little depressing the fact that all of these people. Well, hell, looking at Gran Turismo, seeing that Ginger Spice is now mom or playing mom.
Oh yeah.
So it's a little depressing as to how old a lot of these actresses are getting. I know the math makes sense, but damn it! When Sydney Sweeney starts showing up as a mom in movies, we know that we're going to be really old at that point. So,
yeah, I'm not ready for that.
Yeah. But this it looks like it's a and we've seen this a lot before. Single moms, the complications, but this is a film in Ireland, so you get the Irish accents, you get a different perspective than I think we get from mostly American produced films, and throw in average Joseph Gordon-Levitt in for a little bit of romance, a little bit of distance learning, a little bit of the cyber era of being one world on the internet. And you get Flora and Son that looks like it's and the son is he's an emerging musical talent as well. She plays guitar. He ends up being a composer of sorts, a DJ basically. So it's one of those that it's hard to describe, but it's one that looks like it has a ton of heart. So Flora and Son comes out September 22nd. My number 8 movie for fall.
Nice. I'll put that on my radar.
Have you ever seen anything with Eve Hewson?
I was looking her up, and her face looks familiar, but I actually have not. She's been in some stuff that I've meant to watch, but I've just never watched. Bridge of Spies, Paper Year, Robin Hood, all things I've been meant to watch, and I just never watched. Yeah,
and it's one of those two. I probably have seen her someplace before, but she just really stands out in the trailer for this. And to do a good job emoting in a trailer without being a downer, that's not an easy task. So the fact that she goes in those well-worn heels and still comes out
fresh.
Yeah, in a trailer. To me that's a sign of good acting. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's a good flick. Your number 8 film is another Michael Fassbender film. This is one that it's interesting. It's about American Samoa. It's about soccer, and it's a biopic about an actual real life soccer team and soccer coach. Tell me about Next Goal next goal wins.
Yeah, so I saw the trailer for this when I went to go see. I don't remember what no, it was Mystery Movie Monday at Regal. So I saw this trailer and I was like, this looks funny. I love Taika when he's doing original ideas. When he's adapting stuff, he kind of doesn't know that he needs to adapt. He's just doing whatever he usually does in his movies, and he's just like, I guess I can take this idea from there, but I'm not gonna really adapt. So when he's one of those actors that needs to make their own kind of original movies, a Jojo Rabbit, and things like that. And this looks like it's gonna be with a lot of heart. Earlier this year, Champions came out, which is a kind of a similar premise. With Woody Harrelson, and I really enjoyed that film. It was really fun and funny, and I think Taika's a superior director than the one that directed that, and I can see him having Michael Fassbender, who is, I can see has comedic chops, but doesn't get, another actor that gets kind of typecast into being the serious straight man all the time. Being able to do something more comedic here and introducing us to some actors from a culture that we don't get a lot. That's kind of my thing where I'm like, ooh, Samoa. The only Samoan actor I know is The Rock. And it's just like he's the most famous one. And other than that, if you don't watch Hawaii 5-0, you never see him. So I'm interested to hear this true story. And how he brings the life to it, and how fun it is, and how accurate it stays to the regular story, and if the soccer is fun. I think a lot of these sport movies forget to make the sport fun, and they focus so much on the dramatic part.
Yeah, well, and look, this is one too. It's about the American Samoa football team or soccer team to you and me, the football team to the rest of the world, who loses a match, 31-0 in soccer. And for anyone who's not familiar with soccer is usually like baseball. It's like 2-1, 3-2. So to lose an international soccer match 31-0,
you're terrible.
Yeah, and it's just at a certain point the mercy rule should it's like Little League. The mercy rule should really probably be adopted at a certain point. So it's a little bit Bad News Bears, a little bit Mighty Ducks is what it sounds like. And I'm with you.
That's what it is. The Mighty Ducks feel.
Yeah, and I love Taika Waititi, and it's such a strange thing because he's a guy who made a comedy by playing Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
And he did the world's hardest thing of making Thor into a comedy movie in Thor Ragnarok, and proving everyone wrong, and then doing the world's worst MCU movie in Thor Love and Thunder with all the money and all the street cred. So the fact that I don't know if this is his first movie following Thor Love and Thunder, but in terms of production schedule, but this is the first movie of his that I've seen after Thor Love and Thunder.
This is his first directing film he's directed after Thor Love and Thunder.
So the fact that he's come back from Asgard, he's come back down to Earth, he's getting a camera, he's getting a soccer ball, and a bunch of unseen actors before, or not really well-known actors, and putting Michael Fassbender in there. I love the idea of this film, and Taika Waititi, back to basics. It what this kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of Jon Favreau after Iron Man comes out and becomes a huge hit, and then he does Iron Man 2, MCU launches the most profitable franchise in movie history, and then he does Cowboys and Aliens, and not an awful film, but it's not Iron Man. It's not like an all-time classic. And how do you fail with James Bond and Han Solo in a sci-fi western? It's not like it's a failure, but what was Jon Favreau's reaction to that? Back to basics, and he makes Chef, which is one of my favorite new movies of the last 10 years. So I think the critical acclaim, or the lack of critical acclaim of Thor: Love and Thunder, I wonder if that was sort of a slap in his face creatively, and this is sort of a back to basics for Taika Waititi, because I love him, and even in a small role in Free Guy, I love him.
He
in
was
that
so
role.
weird in
So
that movie.
yeah, he's well, so many great lines in there where he's like the a-hole tech billionaire, tech bro
Exactly.
guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I love Taika Waititi and pretty much everything he does. So yeah, I love the idea of this film too. So, and plus, it's not Fox anymore, but Searchlight Pictures. It's right up there with A24
Yeah,
in
they're
terms of
prolific.
being great indie studios. So
Yeah.
yeah, all of those are next goal wins. What's by the way, what is your talk a little bit about sports movies? What's your favorite sports movie?
Oof. That's a loaded question there. To the Google, so I don't forget anything. Sport movies.
Well, there's so many different choices, because you get
Yeah.
the Mighty Ducks type films, and you got
Mhm.
ones like Champions, and
You got the boxing films, or
yeah, and you got like
the combat ones, at least.
yeah, and then you got like sports comedies like Major League. So
Yeah.
what would be like some of your more the your what is like okay? So what is your go to sports movie when you want to watch a sports movie?
So I'll say recently, obviously, the Mighty Ducks is something that's like a comfort film for me. I'll say the Creed films as well. The Fighter with Christian Bale
Oh,
is something that's up there. Hustle, which recently came out on Netflix, and I thought Adam Sandler should have been nominated for that because he was fantastic. I brought up Southpaw earlier.
yep.
Um, and I think like Deep Blue Sea, which is like a water film. One that's not like really well made, but is just a childhood favorite for me is Johnny Tsunami, which is
Interesting. Never even heard of that before. Who's in that
that nobody you know. It's just
one?
one of those, it's one of those Disney movies that they used to do like a sport film and just make it really extreme and emotional, and they'll add like Johnny Tsunami was in Hawaii and it was playing on that culture, and it was just a fun film at that time. It was like Johnny Tsunami, Brink, like, which was a skateboard film, and a couple other films that they did back to back to back. That was just a part of my childhood that I love. They're not super well made, but I could go back and watch those and like it just feel right, like right back as a child. So
You're
those would
right.
be some famous ones.
Time and place are always huge for watching movies. And yeah, you go back and rewatch it. It may or may not be the greatest, but your memories of them are always key for any kind of future
Yeah. Oh,
film.
and Fighting with My Family, a really really underrated
Oh,
one.
yeah, that was the one about the WWE from a couple
Yeah,
years ago.
Paige.
That
Yep,
yeah, that was Florence Pugh kind of really came out of the
that was like a breakout.
yeah. Yeah, I still haven't seen that one, but I need to. It's definitely on the list.
Yeah,
Um,
great
uh,
actors.
so moving up to my number 7. This is another one that we haven't gotten a trailer yet, unless it was coming out today. This is another biopic. This is about car maker Enrico. I think it's Enrico. About Enzo. Sorry, Enzo Ferrari. We all know
Adam
Ferrari
Driver film.
cars. Yeah, we all know about cars and Ferraris and how they're $200,000, $300,000 cars, and this is the biopic about Ferrari. It is. This is Michael Mann, and I am a huge Michael Mann fan, even though I don't. He's another one of those guys that he's sort of the classic Hollywood filmmaker. So, like, whenever you watch
Yeah.
a special feature on his movies, he is the director. So, whenever they do like location scouting, he has like 20 people loaded on a bus, and they all go out and look for like the cool spots in town or location to shoot scenes. Like, he's that guy that does, like he did Miami Vice, and he's done
Mhm.
so many just great dramas in the 80s, 90s, 2000s.
Yeah.
So anytime Michael Mann is coming up with a biopic, and you get a cast that including, and I'm not a huge
Sad.
fan of his, but Adam Driver,
Okay.
he's an Oscar-nominated actor. I go back and forth on him, but Shailene Woodley, Penelope Cruz, Patrick
Mhm.
Dempsey, the list goes on and on. for this cast. And when you throw all of these talented people in a Michael Mann film, in a biopic about a sports car pioneer, it probably should be higher on my list, but the fact that this is a Christmas Day release, to me, screams that this is a film that the studio, the filmmakers, everybody thinks could be a potential Oscar contender, nominations galore coming out, as well as one that has a popular appeal to be released on Christmas Day. So, again, haven't seen any trailers for it, just got a few set photos, including Adam Driver trying to do his best to look cool in shades. I don't know if it's working or not, but
that's
talented actor.
Weird. I feel like after the cinematography and everything's done with the film to make them look better, it'll look good, but the cast, the set photos don't look great.
Yeah, and look, I love Shailene Woodley, so if she's the love interest in this film, that's another good step forward.
Noomi Rapace, I think is an underrated actress that's been climbing up the ranks for me. She's good.
Yeah, and she was the original girl with the dragon tattoo. Noomi Rapace.
Yeah,
and totally underrated in the Alien prequel. Brain farting in the name.
Prometheus,
yeah. Totally underrated actress. But yeah, love Noomi Rapace too. So that's Ferrari Christmas Day, my number 7 film. Moving on to your number 7 film. This is, we talked about it a little bit earlier. This is Marshawn Lynch. This is high school girls trying to hook up. We see so many films like American Pie where the guys are trying to get laid before prom. This is
setting up parties.
This is the girl version of that, but it's a high school fight club with girls.
Yes.
And for some reason, Marshawn Lynch. Tell me about Bottoms.
Yeah, so what attracted to me to this film at first, before I even heard the premise, is Three of the Stars, which is Rachel Snow, who I'm a fan of. She was in Shiva Baby. She was in Bodies, Bodies, a A24 film that I had a lot of fun with. Ayo Edebiri, I'm probably saying her last name incorrectly. She is in this fantastic show on Hulu called The Bear. And she's phenomenal in that. And she's also in this show on Hulu called Elementary, where she has a small role, but she's great in it as well. And she was in Across the Spider-Verse as a voice. So she's having a pretty good year, and I'm a fan of her. And then Havana Rose Liu, who's not super huge, and I only seen her one thing, but the one thing I saw her in, which was like a Hulu movie, she did a really good job. So I'm excited to see those three get together. But then saw the trailer, I heard the premise. It's 2 loser lesbians, which we've seen something similar with loser guys doing something like this, but loser lesbians who can't get girls, and they set up a fight club because the girls have been getting picked on, and they're using this opportunity to teach them how to defend themselves, but also hit on them.
Figuratively and literally at the same time.
Yeah, and it's like, this is so problematic, but I love it. And like, we've been getting summer flicks like this over and over and over. No Hard Feelings, love that movie, super problematic. Joyride, love that movie, super problematic. Strays, love that movie, super problematic. So I'm ready for another like problematic film that has a lot of heart. The thing that all those 3 movies have is a lot of heart, so it kind of erases the problematic parts of it. And I'm excited to see, because this had like the highest rated audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. It debuted at like 100%, which never happens. And it looks really funny. That's the thing. It looks like a good time. It looks like it's going to be really stupid, and I just want to turn off my brain and have fun. And
interesting too, Kaya Gerber, aka Cindy Crawford's daughter, basically a lookalike for Cindy Crawford, also in this film. Yeah. And interesting too, Rachel Sennett is the co-writer, along with the writer-director Emma Seligman. And I'm not familiar with Emma Seligman's work, but it is funny. You bring up, it's a really good point. It's a film that if a man were to direct this film, it would be massively problematic. And I think in a lot of ways, the fact that this is taking a potential potential trouble spot and turning it on its heels and giving a little bit of opportunity to a writer-director who I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant. And just the perspective alone it's one of those that I think probably a lot of male directors probably went, this sounds funny, but I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. I'm not going to be Harvey Weinstein.
Or it's probably like a straight to DVD movie that we never heard of.
Yeah. So the potential here, I think I think it has a lot of potential, and just the trailers alone look so much fun. And this is one that it originally I had this on my August movie releases, and some places it looks like it's coming out August 25th. Some places it's saying September 1st.
So it's a limited release on 25th, wide release on the 1st.
Yeah. So so I'm really looking forward to this film as well, and Marshawn Lynch, as the idea of Marshawn Lynch running a high school fight club, and it's a girls' high school fight club, is just
amazing.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Love it across the board. September 1st, wide release. My number 5,
or 6. Do we do 6?
No, it jumps around a little bit.
Oh.
My number 5 is a British film, but it's a British film from a Persian perspective. This is the Persian version, and it's about a huge Persian. I don't want to say Persian American, but Persian immigrant family to Britain, and it's. I didn't quite have my other cutaways here, but it's not a cast that I've really seen much before. But this is about focus. It's a big family of highly motivated first generation Brits who work very hard, are financially successful, but it's a huge family that struggles with traditional values versus modern Western society, and our lead actress is a lesbian in a family that, has traditional values. They're progressive, they're hardworking, but she's a lesbian in a traditional family, and she gets pregnant. So
that's a lot. That's a lot going on there.
The plot thickets. So how does a lesbian Persian Brit get accidentally knocked up when she's not trying to get pregnant when she's a doctor herself? So
wow,
the premise.
It's a lot to unpack in a comedy.
Yeah, especially when it's really fast paced and and it's none of the actors I've heard of before, and I didn't quite. I relatively well prepared, but I didn't quite get that far as having the actors here up on this part. But the Persian version, British filmmaking from a Persian perspective. Immigrant family, but stories of families immigrating from countries to countries. As Americans, I think we tend to think of that being like an American type story, but I love seeing those types of stories of hardworking immigrant families. But this one sort of from a different perspective. So all of it together, it kind of, in all the British accents too. Again, the
if
Persian,
it's done right.
Yeah. The Persian version comes out October 13th. So
kind of reminds me of this movie that came out earlier this year called Polite Society that a lot of people didn't talk about.
Yeah, that was one that I didn't quite see. It was sort of in and out of theaters, even the indie film theaters. It was sort of in and out. But yeah, Polite Society was one that I need to watch it too, and that's another one that I'm sure it's on streaming now, but it came out right before summer, so the fact that I didn't see it opening week, it kind of got lost in the shuffle for me. But yeah, Polite Society.
So much stuff came out.
Yeah, and Polite Society, another one of Middle Eastern, family of Middle Eastern descent in Britain, and some of the culture clash stuff going on.
And that one, woman.
Yeah,
like, you never see that.
Yeah, it looks so good, and I need to make the time to sit down and watch it. So. This one doesn't look exactly like that. It looks slightly different. Polite Society looked a little bit more comedic. This one looks a little bit more drama comedy, but both of them look brilliant, and super excited to see both. So this is the Persian version coming out. Your number, as we start to come down the stretch a little bit, your number 5, or your number 6. Your number 6 is, it's a legacy. It is what's left over of the DCEU. It is Jason Momoa, who is, this is basically the highest. The original was one of the highest grossing films in the DC universe, the DCEU, and one of the best received. Yeah, and honestly, the production design was probably should have been nominated for an Oscar if it wasn't.
Oh yeah, the effects and everything.
Yeah, so the fact that we're, almost a full year after the change in the Snyderverse, this is the last of the big movies to come out for the DCEU. So tell me about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, or Aquaman
2. I'm a big fan of James Wan as a director.
Yep.
He made Malignant, which I will always praise him because that movie is insane. I really liked the first Aquaman. A lot of people are like, why did it make $1 billion? Because it looked amazing. Like, what do you mean? It's not Avatar amazing, but it's a different art style. I think that it was really fun. I think it was a simple premise. It was an origin story that we got that was just done in a fast-paced manner with colorful characters. It added a little horror in there, and I feel like from what James Wan wanted to do, he just wants to double and triple down on all the things that worked in the first one. And Jason Momoa was a better actor now than he was when that first movie came out. Yeah. He is. Like, I remember I rewatched Aquaman. I was like, ooh, some of these scenes are rough when he's not being a aqua bro. when he's trying to be dramatic, I'm like, ooh, he's not emoting really well at all. But I've seen him in other things now where I'm like, oh no, he either James Wan didn't know how to direct him, or he actually just became better actor. And I think that if he's a better actor, that means Aquaman 2 could be a better movie if they just hold on to the things that worked.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys too that, if you really think about Jason Momoa, there's those guys like Brad Pitt, Johnny Depp, Keanu Reeves. There are guys that are so good looking that it's almost distracting. So they have to have wild caveman hair. They have to dress down, if you will, because they're so good looking. It's a little distracting. And I think people forget that Jason Momoa is funny. He's a talented actor who's funny, and because he's so good looking and he's got so many muscles and tattoos and got great hair, I think everyone just sort of assumes that. You think about the first Aquaman movie, that the introduction to his character is 3 different shots in the same scene of him flexing and posing. And I was like, oh, come on. Like, okay, one hero shot, but, we get it. It's Jason Momoa. He's handsome. Yeah. But, he is a talented actor, too, on top of that. Like, he's the one guy with no experience that came out of Baywatch Hawaii.
Yeah. He
came out of cable TV in Stargate Atlantis. So he's a guy who has put in his time on his craft.
1,000 hours.
Yeah, working on television shows, working up in Canada, and not just famous for marrying Lisa Bonet. So
that's like the least of his accomplishments, which is crazy.
which is a pretty good accomplishment in and of itself. Yeah. But he's a very talented actor, and I'm a little disappointed that he gets the last final release date for the DCEU, and we already know that he's not coming back in Aquaman as James Gunn moves forward. I know a bunch of people have talked about him potentially playing Lobo. Who, if you look up Lobo, just if you Google Lobo in DC, it looks like Jason Momoa. If Jason Momoa didn't work out for 6 months and just ate donuts. So, that might be an excuse for him to be more comfortable with the lifestyle in terms of not having to work out. But He's
I
a
have
guy that
good
always.
feelings on him being Lobo because I've always imagined Lobo as like reimagined as like a Spanish biker,
Oh,
like a
interesting.
Papi Chulo. What's his name? Danny Trejo, I think.
Yeah.
I think would be an amazing version of like Lobo. Just super serious, just real Spanish and hilarious. I think I got that feel from the Superman animated series because it was a Spanish voice actor who voiced him in that, and I always felt like they could play on that a little bit and take on some of the culture aspects and stereotypes there, and just kind of turn him on the head with Lobo and make him a badass. But Jason Momoa is going to do great if he does end up being Lobo, though.
That would be interesting too, because you're right. He's as far as I know, he's not Hispanic. He's Pacific Islander. As far as I can tell. So that would be an interesting take, sort of recasting the character in a different. I'm aware of Lobo, but I don't really know much about that character, so I don't know if he's a good fit or not. But just googling Lobo in DC Comics, the character looks like Jason Momoa. So.
No, he will be a good fit. It's like Deadpool in space. Okay. That's Lobo.
I like Deadpool in space. I like that. I love that. That is a great thing. And it's funny too because this is why our numbers are a little bit off because I also have Aquaman 2 on my list. I have it a little bit lower, and this is just because it's a lame. It's like when you have a president that doesn't win re-election. That 3 or 4 months before he leaves office is called the lame duck session. So this is sort of the DC Comics or the DC EU version of the lame duck thing. Yeah. They've already spent hundreds of millions of dollars on the final 4 films of the DC EU, and the first 3 of those 4 massively underperformed at the box office, and for good reason. I liked The Flash. I liked Black Adam. I haven't seen Blue Beetle yet. I still need to watch that, but that one also failed. $25 million, I think, the first week for a superhero film.
Yeah.
And I know they've talked about potentially having Blue Beetle, if it does well in theaters, it could be in the new DC universe, but I doubt it. So all of that, I normally a superhero of this kind of budget and quality in terms of Aquaman
caliber. Yeah.
It would normally be a lot higher on my list, but the fact that it's we're kind of limping across the finish line, sadly.
Yeah.
So that's why it's lower. It's number 15 on my list. But I love, and I'm really curious though. I am really curious to see what they do with. I don't have the cast on here yet, but I am really curious to see what they do with the story and how they wrap it up. And the fact that we have a George Clooney, or not George Clooney, the fact that we have Ben Affleck showing up a little bit here, credited on IMDb as showing up in Aquaman 2 when he's already been replaced in the Flash movie. So, the continuity is a little wonky, I think, a little bit here. But still, it's a big superhero film. I love. As much as people make fun of Aquaman, if you don't stop that, me and my fish are going to come over there, but that first film was so visual. It was so striking in its visuals. And even with Amber Heard as Mara,
she did a great job in the first film.
Yeah, she did. And I'm really excited, though, to see Yahya Abdul-Mateen II come back. He was great as the new Morpheus. And, people forget, but he was in the Baywatch movie as the cop on land in short shorts riding a four-wheeler. That was him. And kind of giving Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson crap as Mitch Buchanan. So, he's
Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
Also.
Yes.
Great job as that. And he's going to be Wonder Man. He's swapping over to the MCU.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So very very talented guy, and I think trying to shoehorn him into Aquaman 1, I think, was a mistake, and I wish they would have just stuck with the
Ocean Master.
Yeah, Ocean Master character. That storyline, I think, was more compelling, especially as an origin story where you're trying to establish Aquaman as the king of Atlantis. So I'm really curious to see what they do in this sequel, and also too, I'll be curious to see if Randall Park shows up again in his small cameo role. Get Agent Wu from the MCU showing up in whatever character that was. I don't even know the character that he played, but that's sort of that wannabe bad guy, sycophant of the villain superheroes or supervillains character that he played in the first one. So yeah, all that Aquaman 2. Looking forward to it. As we come down our stretch, we go to your number 5, and this is one. I think if the MCU would have had a better Phase 4 and better beginning to Phase 5, I think would be a lot higher on both of our lists. This is. It's Brie Larson, Oscar winner Brie Larson. This is Teyana Paris. This is the star of one of my favorite MCU streaming shows in Ms. Marvel.
Me too.
This is The Marvels. Tell me about The Marvels.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. It's not higher because I know what's about, but I don't know what's about. Like we know the gimmick, but we don't know the story. But that first trailer was so much fun, and I haven't seen an MCU trailer that's just fun. They're usually kind of down and despair and trying to be epic. And this was just we have a Saturday morning cartoon gimmick. We're bringing it to live action, something you'll see in the comics, and it's goofy, but we're going to make it work, and it's working. And I think they have the right 3 actresses to do this. I think pairing Brie Larson up with Teyana Paris, who has shown that she has comedic chops. If you've seen They Clone Tyrone this year, which is one of my favorite movies of the year, and Iman Vellani, who's about to absolutely steal the show. I'm 100% sure, even if you don't like this movie, then you're like, I like her. I need to see more of her because she's the best casting in the MCU since Tom Holland as Peter Parker.
And for anyone who hasn't watched, hasn't signed up for Disney Plus and hasn't watched Ms. Marvel, she does the perfect innocence without being naive. And also, we were talking a little bit about immigrant stories. The story of her family. It's an interesting perspective that this story is told from, and that the series, it's only 5 or 6 episodes. I really think it could have been 8 or 9 episodes the way they told the story.
Should have been 9 episodes, yeah.
She does such a great job of being, energetic and optimistic.
But not annoying.
Yeah, and not annoying. And not, it's almost like Christopher Reeve playing Superman. Ooh. Obviously different universe, different characters, but I think so many people get so superheroed out that that it's easier to relate in some ways to the Dark Knight and I'm Batman. And I love Batman, but the dark and the depressing and the angry. To me, I find that a lot harder to relate with, just personally. I like the Christopher Reeve as Superman. I like Chris Evans as Steve Rogers
character. Yeah.
And to be just honest and forthright and optimistic and believing that good things can happen, even in spite of fighting evil and being a crime fighter. I think all of that, you get all of that plus a little bit of the, I guess, naivete of youth, but the energy of youth, the wanting to do good and believing that good things can happen. You get all of that along with an immigrant story with Iman Vellani.
Family was great.
Yeah, and Ms. Marvel, and her mom or dad. It's they're kind of conservative, so they don't want her showing up. So she was such the shining star, in my opinion, of all the Marvel streaming shows, and to see her kind of get big screen treatment with an Oscar winner and with an emerging star in Teyana Paris. I'm really looking forward to her in this, and yeah, that is freaking hilarious when she switches place with Captain Marvel, and she's like, "Where am I?" She looks over, and the cat eats the bad guy. And she's like, "Oh my god, what is?"
That was such a genuine reaction to like. That's how I would react too. What? Because she's never been. She's like Spider-Man in terms of she's the neighborhood hero.
Yeah,
and she's getting thrown into like this insane thing that she's never seen before. She's like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, she's the fangirl. And in Ms. Marvel's series, we see her. She's dressing up as a fangirl. She's going to a convention, and it's just that honest.
It's like us getting powers.
Yeah, exactly. and she's got that whole thing. So it'll be really fun to see that play out on the big screen. Her going not toe to toe, but shoulder to shoulder with Brie Larson and Teyonah Parris. I think
with the plot details that I've heard make me interested because there is a rift between Teyonah Parris' character and Brie Larson's character because Teyonah Parris' mom died. Captain Marvel is supposed to be her god aunt, and she never came back for her. And then Mani Vellani's character Kamala is idolizing Captain Marvel, and she kind of sees that she's not who I think she is, and she starts attaching herself to Monica Rambeau instead. So I think that dynamic there and them working through that could be very, very interesting too.
Yeah, and this is also one that's on my list. I have the Marvels at number 2.
Okay, that's good.
And it's one of those where it's before Thor: Love and Thunder. Captain Marvel was my worst film in the MCU, just because when you do a '90s film and it's not a great period piece, when it jumps around and it's a little, there's a lot of controversy over seat numbers buying and were tickets being sold on ticket sharing apps and kind of manipulating box office figures. So that just the whole thing was a little bit of a mess. So the fact that we switched directors from the directing team of the first film, and I think I love the character of Captain Marvel. I love Brie Larson. I think that she got a little bit caught up in the promotion, and if you saw, I don't know if you've seen some of those clips of her promoting Avengers Endgame and sitting next to
Hemsworth.
She was sitting next to Chris Hemsworth and sitting next to Rhodey, sitting next to
Don Cheadle.
Yeah, Don Cheadle. Her sitting next to Don Cheadle, and the three of them are sitting shoulder to shoulder, and he is so annoyed. Don Cheadle is so annoyed by her that she's like elbowing him a little bit, and he's like, "Dude, come on." So as likable as Don Cheadle is, for him to be annoyed by her, I think she's so talented as an actress that I think she might have having her headlining an MCU film might have been a bit much for her at that point.
I do think that was playful though, because her and Don Cheadle are actually friends. And they've done movies together, so I think that was kind of them just being stupid.
Yeah, and I hope so. And this is probably just me overreacting a little bit. But the fact that they changed the formula a little bit for the sequel, it's a team up movie now. We're getting the new energy of Iman Vellani, and we're getting Teyonah Parris, and we're kind of moving.
Director.
Yeah, we're getting Nia DaCosta stepping into the director's chair as writer and director. So I like, in Kevin Feige I trust until that trust is lost for whatever reason. So the fact that this was the one MCU film before Love and Thunder, before Thor 4, that I didn't have a go watch this recommendation to. They've made all the changes that I would have asked them, that I would have wanted to see them make. So I'm really super excited for this film, and so it's my number 2 as well. So love the MCU. By the way, what do you think of the villain setting up for this film? Zawe Ashton? I'm probably mispronouncing her name.
Don't know I've never seen her before.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. You know, we see her in the trailers, and I'm not really sure
Yeah.
who her character is.
I think she's a like how Ronan the Accuser from the Guardians movie, and he was in the first Captain Marvel. She's the next one.
Oh, okay. And
But I don't think she's gonna be the main villain. I think that she's gonna be like how Ronan the Accuser was, and she's gonna be a side character, and the main villain's gonna be revealed later, like how they did in the first Captain Marvel. That's what I feel is gonna happen.
And she has the matching cufflink or the braces, the arm braces. I forget what they call them, but Ms. Marvel,
Negabons, I think they're called Negabons,
yeah,
or something like that.
Iman Vellani's character, Kamala Khan, has one, and she has the one of the villains has the matching one, and somehow ties them all together. So yeah, I love. Really looking forward to that. That one's my number 2.
It's gonna be fun.
Looking forward to your number. Sorry, your number 4. This is also on my list, and man. I love Joaquin Phoenix. Beau is Afraid aside. I love Ridley Scott. You know, he has a few bad clunkers here and there, but you know, just look at his IMDb. Alien alone, and you know, The Martian, one of the great feel good films. You know, we always talk about short guys as short guys with attitude as having a Napoleon complex. And throwing in Joaquin Phoenix there. There's something that you know, he's not like 5'2" or 5'3" like Napoleon was, but he is a quirky actor.
Yes, he is.
So tell me about Napoleon.
Yeah, like I'll never forget. I have such a story with this because I remember I heard the Napoleon trailer came out, and I was like, I'm not gonna react to that. That don't even sound like something I'm gonna watch. I know it's Ridley Scott, and I know it's Joaquin, but it's a biopic about Napoleon, blah, 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 blah. But I was like, you know what? Let me do it. And it's my most viewed video on my channel.
Really?
It's got me the most subscribers I've ever gotten. And it still gets views to this day, months later. So on that, I always have an emotional attachment to that because I can't wait to top it and break that. But I was just blown away by the trailer. The way Oppenheimer, I think, changed the game for biopics and making it like such an epic film and not boring or going through there was a time where I felt like biopics were going through the motions in terms of doing the same kind of flow every single time. Had a hard growing up, then, you know, their rise, then they do coke, and then they rise back up.
The dark middle chapter, and then the rising of the phoenix out of the ashes.
Yeah, like almost every biopic was doing that, and I think that lately we've been getting like Tetris biopic, very very different.
Product biopics now.
Yeah, Blackberry, another product. Yeah. Another great film that came out this year. Air, another product, but another great film that came out this year. And they're all biopics. And then Oppenheimer is the ultimate one. And I think that this can be on the level of Oppenheimer if it's done correctly, because it looks like they're going to focus on him a lot. But it looked like the action is actually going to be focused on, and it looks like it's going to be done really well, like an exciting way. So that's why I'm excited. And Joaquin Phoenix, I've never seen him bad in a movie. You never really were there. Joker. I know you don't like Beau is Afraid, but I thought he was great in Beau is Afraid.
Yeah.
And so many other films. He's just one of the greatest to do it today. So
the one thing, and this is probably just, you know, me being old. But Joaquin Phoenix, you know, we know he's not that short. And you watch the trailer, you see Joaquin Phoenix walking side by side with Vanessa Kirby. And he's visibly shorter. And I keep thinking of Tim Conway as Dorf. So anyone who's old enough who saw Tim Conway from the Carol Burnett Show had a whole series of videos that he did straight to DVD, straight to VHS back in the 80s and 90s. And there would be all of these late night commercials for Dorf, his character. And he would do these things where he would have these catcher's mitt things on his feet or on his knees, and he would sit back on his butt, and it would look like he was just jumping up to his feet. And so Dorf on golf. Dorf on basketball. Dorf on all these things with him with a really bad penciled-in mustache. For whatever reason, when I see Joaquin Phoenix waddling along next to Vanessa Kirby as Napoleon with that ridiculous Napoleon hat,
Yeah.
I keep thinking Tim Conway as Dorf.
Dorf.
And and I know it's probably not the same thing and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I love another side effect of being fortunate enough to go to CinemaCon. We did get it was like a 10 or 15 minute version of the big battle scene at the end of the film with Napoleon and the ice, and you see parts of it in the trailer where they shoot the cannons through the ice. We got like a 10 or 15 minute version of that scene, and it was edited, but not like effects and everything, so it was like a few, you could see the scrims going off, and it is so freaking epic. It reminded me of, and this is one where the footage hadn't even been color corrected yet, so it reminded me in some ways of those, like in Braveheart, those big, epic, wide-scale action scenes with like hundreds of extras.
Yeah,
it kind of felt like that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to.
Oh man, you just got me even more excited.
Yeah, and this one is my number 9 film. Yeah, I love Ridley Scott. I love Joaquin Phoenix, and you already said it. Her, the Joker. I mean, hell, even going all the way back to American Gladiator, Joaquin Phoenix is I think one of those he's one of those guys that's really, really underrated as an actor because he's an Oscar-nominated actor.
Winner.
He's Oscar-winning actor who, if anything, he's gotten so famous for being quirky and going on David Letterman, being in character. I think it kind of hurt his career for a little while there. Or I think it might have just been too, like, it might have been sort of like Pearl Jam's battle with Ticketmaster. Like, they were a little bit wary of being famous, so they sort of made up battle with Ticketmaster, so they use that as an excuse not to tour and not lose their street cred. So I think that's sort of Joaquin Phoenix's version of needing to take a step back and take some time for himself without it making it look like his career was purposely on the skids. But
I think also part of it is like when you're not part of any franchise at all, it hurts for the mainstream appeal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to imagine. And yeah, he's in the Joker, but he's not really in the DCEU.
Yeah, and he was supposed to be Doctor Strange.
Oh, that would have been interesting to see too.
Yeah, but his schedule didn't match up. So
I love Benedict Cumberbatch, but that would have been in some ways. I think that would have been more of an appropriate fit than Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah,
obviously Benedict Cumberbatch does a great job with that. So I have that one at number 9. As we kind of come down the stretch here, your number 3 movie. This is a real interesting one. This is The Creator.
The Creator, yeah.
Yeah, this is a sci-fi film coming out this month. It's much like another film on our list. It looks like it probably should be in the Star Wars universe, but it's not. Tell me about The Creator, starring John David Washington.
It's funny you said Star Wars universe because this is the guy who directed Rogue One.
Yep,
so that's why we have that feel. One fact that he directed Rogue One gets me excited because that is one of my favorite, might be my favorite Star Wars movie. And so I'm excited to see what he can do with like an original idea and like get shed kind of that Star Wars thing of like, oh yeah, you made Rogue One, but what else can you do? So I'm rooting for him to like do well in this and with a decent budget. I'm also rooting for John David Washington because I have an unpopular opinion about him. I think that he's been okay at everything he's been in. I haven't seen BlacKkKlansman, so I can't talk about his performance in there. And I heard that he was great in that. But everything else I've seen him in, I was like, oh, he's been okay.
Ballers, he was good in Ballers.
I haven't seen that. That's the Dwayne The Rock show, right? I haven't got to see that yet either. So I might have missed some of his best performances, which is very possible. But I'm rooting for him. I want him to get like a vehicle, and he was okay in Tenet, but that was a mess of a movie to me.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think Chris Nolan did a great job directing him. But there's a bunch of actors in here that I'm excited for. John David Washington. I'm a fan of Gemma Chan. That's another actress that I feel like kind of gets typecasted into the fairy woman role a lot. I feel like that's what she plays it every time I see her.
She was good in Eternals.
Yeah, she was great in Eternals. And it's funny, she was good in Captain Marvel too.
Yeah.
Got to play 2 MCU roles. She was green in one. I'm a fan of Benedict Wong, and there's a couple actors in here that are like character actors that I'm a fan of that I'm excited to see. But the concept, a big thing about right now is the battle of AI. What's the responsible way to deal with things with AI? Should we be using it and things like that? And I think that the fact that this is dealing with like way far in the future where AI has gone crazy and they're doing what so many people have warned us about. Terminator has warned us about already. It's going to be like an eye-opener, and hopefully people see this like, oh, yeah, see, look again. We get a modern movie that's showing us that you shouldn't be doing this. But the idea of like a person's mission is to take out this thing and then it being like a kid and them having conflicting emotions about that, even though they know it's a robot, but the fact that it looks and acts like a kid, I think can be an interesting storyline. And I'm always down for a new sci-fi world. I think that's like the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
A new original idea.
And before we know it, there's going to be the Creator 75. Creator prequels. The creator of the creator.
The Creator 2049.
Yeah. It's interesting, too, to look at this and see Allison Janney's in this. Anytime you can have a West Wing actor in there, that's another good sign. And, look, Ken Watanabe. I love everything he does. And even if Ken Watanabe is not saying Godzilla, it's still good to have Ken Watanabe in a film, because people forget that Ken Watanabe was in Inception and he was sort of the target of the heist of the dream heist in Inception. So yeah, he's solid actor. And just the fact that we have this kind of a stacked cast in a Gareth Edwards film that's not attached to any major IP intellectual property, just shows exactly how good the script must be. And and you're right, John David Washington. I think I love Christopher Nolan. I think that Tenet was a victim of so many of his movies. So many of Christopher Nolan's movies go past 3 hours or push the 3-hour limit. That my theory was that Warner Brothers was finally like, all right, you have director's cut, you have final cut, but you have to deliver a film that's 2.5 hours or less. So if you look at the runtime, it's like 2 hours and 29 minutes on the nose. But at the same time, him as a director was like, but I'm not cutting anything out. So I think that's part of what the flow problem was, what the pacing problem was that they cut everything down to be the shortest version possible. And Tenet just didn't have time to breathe because, we can't cut out any storylines, God forbid, so let's include everything. And by doing so, to me... to me, by doing so, by not giving it any time to breathe, nothing really sinks in. So it's sort of like...
And also the audio issues as well. The fact that when I watched it in theaters, I was like, I don't understand anything that's going on, really, in certain scenes.
Well, that's just Christopher Nolan in general.
Yeah, that's true. It happened in Oppenheimer, too, so I can't even talk.
Once Inception came out, I was like, man, I know I got to watch this a second time before I can even comment on it. So I love John David Washington, and the fact that he hasn't done a movie with his dad yet, I have a certain amount of respect for that, because Hollywood is just such a thing where it's all about connections. And I'm sure he uses his, he didn't change his last name like Nicolas Cage did, but the fact that he hasn't relied on his dad directly, at least in terms of co-storing with him. Hey, let's do a father-son buddy comedy, or whatever. I have a certain amount of respect for that, and him kind of coming up through Ballers and doing non-leading man roles, and just doing the work and becoming a good actor. I respect
and his sister is now making her way up She's in a show on Amazon Prime called Virgo, and I heard
Oh, really?
she's doing a really good job in that show.
And what's her
So,
name?
that's a good question. Let me look up Virgo.
Oh, something Washington, I assume.
Yeah, I wonder if she kept the name. That's interesting. Show.
By the way, we also have a couple of comments in the chat.
Yeah, you're right. Olivia Washington.
Oh, Olivia Washington, nice. We have the Optithorian Alliance from Two Perspectives. Sorry if I butchered that name. The Optithorian Alliance from Two Perspectives. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. I'm doing well. Zach, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm having a fun time.
Thank you for tuning in. And there's one that I can't quite see. One other comment there, but I can't see. But, thank you for checking us out. Looking at as we round out. This is my number 4, by the way. My number 4 is another CinemaCon, and I promise this is the last CinemaCon reference.
Flex.
Oh, actually, no. This is a separate one. My number 4 is actually no. This is also a CinemaCon one, not directly, but Dumb Money. This is a biopic. This is coming out in a week or two. This is everyone's favorite Seth Rogen. This is all about the GameStop stock controversy. And if you if we're unfamiliar with the GameStop stock controversy, basically what it was some guy named, it wasn't Hello Kitty, it was like, oh no, Roaring Kitty. In this case, played by I Drink Your Milkshake. Yeah, Paul Dano. Mm-hmm. Paul Dano plays Roaring Kitty, and he starts a trend on Reddit where people start buying GameStop stock. And much like The Big Short, which was nominated for a ton of other Oscars, The Big Short was all about Wall Street money betting on the market to fail. This is about hedge funds betting on GameStop to fail. And the common man, the everyday man, the Roaring Kitties of the world going on YouTube, going on Reddit, and saying, you know what? We think there's value in GameStop, and you're not going to stop us. Damn it. So, all-star cast, Paul Dano on one side, on the everyman side. We actually have Seth Rogen playing one of the billionaire hedge fund guys, so being one of the haves versus the have-nots, which is sort of unique to his career, and just so many talented actors and actresses.
The list is crazy.
Yeah,
this might be the most stat cast of all the movies that we've.
Yeah, and I'm just so looking forward to this film. And I wouldn't be shocked if, in the same way that The Big Short got nominated for a few Oscars here and there, I wouldn't be shocked if somehow, even as more of a comedy, that we got some nominations coming out of this film. And and for anyone, the big recommendation is that this movie looks great, but it's one that has a lot of moving pieces, much like The Big Short. So anyone that has access to streaming, watch Diamond Hands. That's Diamond Hands. Like people holding onto a piece of coal so hard that the coal turns into a diamond. Diamond Hands is a great documentary. Just a quick, hour and a half long documentary about the GameStop series, or the GameStop story. So watch that before watching Dumb Money. It's really kind of, because, it's a lot of technical jargon and stuff, so, but once you kind of see some of the characters in it, and see the David versus Goliath story, and get past all the technical stuff, I don't know if we're going to get Margot Robbie drinking champagne in a bathtub, like we did in The Big Short, but,
Big Short,
Dumb Movie, is my number 4 film, and, Seth Rogen showed up at CinemaCon having just rapped. Dumb Money at the time.
Wow.
So he was.
Let's
he
talk about
produced,
how prolific.
He was producing. He wasn't in Road Trip or not Road Trip. The Asian American Road Trip across China.
Across China.
Pure Road Trip, Pure Joy.
Joyride.
Joyride, that's it. He produced Joyride, so he was there to talk about being a producer on Joyride. And anyhow, the film that he had just finished filming at the time was Dumb Money. So.
Wow. Yeah, this man is a phenomenal, one of the best producers in this industry right now, and
very smart to, while he's still a huge star, break into the producing bracket. So
yeah.
Your number two film. This is a big one. This is Leo. This is Leo. This is Scorsese. This is a big, oddly streaming film, but it's based on a real life story. It is Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, it's gonna get the theatrical release. It's gonna get a run before it gets to Apple TV. So I will check it out in theaters because I'm excited. This seems like a theatrical. It's a long movie, so I'm gonna be prepared for that. But this is another one where I was like, and I reacted to the trailer, and I was like, holy crap. This looks amazing, both trailers. And yeah, I'm really excited about Lily Gladstone. I've been hearing great things for the people who have already seen this movie, that she gives a phenomenal performance. I've never seen her anything else before, but I'm hearing that she's phenomenal and she's going to steal the show. And this is another stat cast. You know, got Leo in there, you got Robert De Niro. We have a couple other actors that I haven't seen before, but I heard were great. And I think it's a story that needs to be told. There's not a lot of stories told from the perspective of Native Americans fighting back. It's mostly like, we took their land and they gave up. So we're going to get that story of like, no, they were combative and they had land and they were using what they were supposed to use in a proper way. And they're not some savages. I think that tied with it being a love story as well, kind of in there, could be very interesting.
Yeah, and it's the story of the Osage Nation. This is finding oil on tribal land when it was the land that no one else wanted, so that's why the Osage Nation got it. And then what happens when there's a gold rush? There's an oil rush for the oil underneath the land that the Osage tribe has. And sort of that chaotic time in the 1920s when, organized crime was coming in, and it's prohibition, and it's that time where before the FBI was really the FBI, and all of that stuff that went on. And yeah, you're right, Martin Scorsese as the director. The fact that Jesse Plemons now. How does Jesse Plemons go from being a Breaking Bad guest star to now being in Oscar-nominated films the last couple of years? But great actor. John Lithgow. Oscar winner Brendan Fraser doing the follow-up to Whale. This is and I agree with when I'm with you. I've never seen Lizzie Gladstone before, or Lily Gladstone before, but she looks like she's holding her own with Leonardo DiCaprio, which is that's hell. The last time that happened in my memory is Margot Robbie shot worldwide fame after. Starring opposite of Leonardo DiCaprio. So,
and speaking of that, I hope this gives some shine to some of these Native American actors and they get more roles off of this.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know if Adam Beach is in this film, but thinking back to Adam Beach getting a big boost to his career after being in Oscar-nominated film 20 years ago. So yeah, hopefully this film can be a good launching pad for launching Native American actors into having more, being working actors and having careers of their own. So, this looks phenomenal. Looking over at the chat, we have C4 Yourself.
Hey, Ken.
Hey, welcome. One of Zach's viewers coming over. Thank you for giving me a shout out here. He says, I'm looking forward to Dumb Money. Saw the trailer in Gran Turismo yesterday. Sorry about Gran Turismo.
He likes it like me. You don't have to say sorry.
All right. I'm glad you liked it. And then he says, "Killers of the Flower Moon" seems like it doesn't quite show up here.
An experience, I think he said.
Oh, an experience. Nice. Yeah. So yeah, looking forward to all of those as well. Almost rounding out the top here. My number 3.
Oh yeah, because the Marvels was your number 2. Yeah.
So we're just jumping forward to my number 3. This is Anne Hathaway. This is Tyrion Lannister. This is Peter
I think I saw the
Dinklage.
trailer for this.
Yeah, and it's this bizarre, quirky character type film where he plays a composer, a Broadway composer, and what Anne Hathaway plays his marriage therapist wife. And for whatever reason, Marissa Tomei plays Peter Dinklage's muse after they have an affair. So this is She Came to Me. Coming out. It's an indie film. It's a love story. I mean, I guess it's a marriage story. It's a probably an
character
open marriage,
study, maybe.
Yeah, it's a character study. It's an open marriage. It's sort of like an open affair, but it's creatives in New York. It's character driven. It's Anne Hathaway's an Oscar winner. So is Marissa Tomei.
She's always great.
Yeah, and if he hasn't been nominated for an Oscar at this point, he probably will be at some point in Peter Dinklage. I mean, he was great in Cyrano, kind of reimagining the role of Cyrano as a little person. So I love when Peter Dinklage is playing roles that aren't necessarily the little person role. Like when he's playing just an average, like a role that any other actor would play. I love that he kind of stretches the definition, stretches the role into something that would fit him. And this looks like a case of that, where he's playing the moody artiste, the who gets writer's block. And
we've seen that before.
Yeah, and under a ton of pressure, and he's married to Anne Hathaway, and he finds his muse, and it just looks like one of those great character-driven pieces that, it's one of those that if it was being released in November or December, I would say there might be an outside chance it's the type of film that could get some nominations here and there. Probably not. It's probably just more that it'll just be a fun indie film character piece. But anytime you get those 3 actors, and I don't think I've ever seen Anne Hathaway, Marissa Tomei, and Peter Dinklage in the same movie together. I just everything about this film, I love it. So it's my number 3 film.
Also, Nicole Kidman, Steve Carell, and Amy Schumer, and Matthew Broderick, who's underrated.
Yeah, so many talented people coming together. I mean, the reactions to that they must have had to the screenplay is that's sort of what when you see this many talented people coming together in an indie film where there isn't a lot of money, to me screams out that it has an amazing screenplay. So those kind of all of that together is why it's my number 3. Have you seen the trailer for She Came to Me?
Yes, I think it came on when I was going to go see Retribution, which was like the best part of my night that night. And I was like, wow, this looks really, really fun. And I'm excited to check it out. Hopefully, a lot of these smaller films I don't get to check out until they come to streaming, because it's hard for me to see multiple movies in a week, especially on like that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I usually see a movie on either Thursday or Friday, and that's all I can see for the weekend. But I'm definitely going to check it out eventually.
By the way, you live in Brooklyn, you live in New York. Like, what is the indie movie going scene like there? Like in terms of, like, I know they shoot a lot of films in New York, but what is the culture of the indie movies in New York like?
Yeah, so it's a lot of it in like Williamsburg and the Upper West Side and Soho, and sometimes they'll shoot it in areas near me, but they'll like, this is Chicago, and I'm like, this is not Chicago, this is Brooklyn. What are you doing? So there's a lot of when I was working on the Upper West Side, I used to work in a physical therapy clinic over there, and a lot of actors would come there for like not major ones, but like Netflix actors that I was like, oh, you were in Daredevil. If
Oh,
you ever seen the Daredevil show, the
yep.
Asian villainess, I forgot what her name was. Like the
Oh,
old lady
Madame
that was a
Gao.
villain. Yeah, she came for physical therapy at my office. I was like, oh my god. And yeah, you'll just see
The
them here and
Hand.
there.
She was the head of the Hand.
Yeah, I ran into Paul Rudd while he was on a date years ago. And
Nice.
that was fun. And he was just coming from like shooting something, and he met up with somebody. So like you'll see actors here and there, and you'll see things like car chases, and you're like, what's going on, when it's like part of a movie.
Wait,
But it's not like everything.
was Paul Rudd on a date while going to physical therapy?
No.
Because
That
that's
sounds
something
like a
that,
Paul Rudd thing.
yeah, I can see Paul Rudd doing that. I can see Paul Rudd doing hell. I can see Paul Rudd doing a film where he goes on a date as he goes to physical therapy. That's actually not a bad idea for a screenplay.
No. They can be very creative and fun.
Yeah.
Add Joyce and Gordon-Levitt in there, and Seth Rogen, and we got a film.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, so thriving indie scene, and
Yeah, and they have some indie theaters in there too, like that. We have like this really old school theater that looks like an old theater, and they still have reels. Not everything is digital. It's pretty cool.
nice. All right. Very cool. Very cool. I think as we get to the top, or wait, no, we did mine. So we get yours. Yours is next. Your number 2. I think somewhere in there. I think we might have skipped, or I might have skipped. Did I skip one? No. I think we're at your number 1 or number 2. Oh,
should be my number 1.
Yeah, Rebel Moon. Tell me about. Yeah. And this is another Star Wars movie that's not a Star Wars movie. This is
literally this time.
Yeah, literally. This is Zack Snyder decided to pitch a Star Wars movie. Kathleen Kennedy decided to skip, and so they're making it anyway. And they used a great name, Rebel Moon. Somehow not one of the few things not copyrighted by Star Wars and Disney. So tell me about Rebel Moon.
So I'm really excited because I'm a very big Zack Snyder fan. He's either 1 or 2 in terms of favorite directors, with Denis Villeneuve, who making a similar movie in Dune. This looks like he's combining all the different things that he's learned from each of his movies and putting it in one epic 3-parter. I like Star Wars, but I'm not I'm not a hardcore Star Wars fan. I do think Star Wars plays it safe a lot with what they do. They have like a ebb and flow with things, and it never breaks away from it. And anytime they do, the fans go crazy. So the fact it's true. Taika Waititi doing that one episode of Mandalorian where he made the Star Troopers funny, everybody went crazy. I'm like, they give him some personality. It's fine. It's okay. But okay, like stay away from Star Wars. It'd just be very plain. Be Ron Howard.
Opie directed a movie. You gotta love. I mean, who doesn't love Opie? But you ready?
When you need a solid movie that's not gonna insult no one, you hire Ron Howard. He's great at that.
And his daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard, also now directed.
She should direct a Star Wars movie. Some of her episodes that she's directed are the best Star Wars stuff. So just shooting that out there. But the fact that he's combining like inspirations from Hercules and Greek mythology, some Harry Potter stuff going on there. You can see a little bit of Game of Thrones, and obviously Star Wars. The fact that someone had the balls to use lightsabers. It feels like for so long that other franchises have been scared to even like touch it because like it's a Star Wars.
Laser swords, I think, is probably what I would assume that lightsabers is probably copyrighted.
Yeah, he's not gonna call it that.
Look, when you see the trailer and it's like it's lightsabers. It's laser swords.
They look a little different the way they move, but it's lightsabers. And then when I hear details about the film, a lot of people were like, "Oh, this sounds like a stereotypical Chosen One film." And you find them in the cane fields, and they're coming to unite the nations. But then when I saw the trailer, I was like, "This looks amazing for a Netflix film. This could have been in the theater." Visually in the background, there's always something interesting happening while they're showing you the human characters. But then did a little background on the story, and the savior dies in the beginning of the film. And this is Anthony Hopkins, who plays a robot, telling the story of the fallout of that, which is different. Usually the movie would be about the chosen one, but this is about what happens if the chosen one dies before they get to do their task. And I think that's unique. I don't think we've really gotten that before. And it's, his best work is when he gets to work long form. I'm surprised still Zack Snyder hasn't made a movie series, like a 8-part series show or something like that, because that's when he does his best work. But the fact that it's gonna be separated in 3 films, I think we're gonna get a banger.
You think this is going to be his version of Lord of the Rings?
There's some Lord of the Ring vibes there. I can see that. I can see there, because there's a thing of like the way the trailer set up is like all the main characters are in different places, and then at the end it says who are you going to step up and might die, and you see them all come in the same picture. So I could see the Lord of the Rings thing. Like, I'm a new Lord of the Rings fan. I watched the first one the first time this year. And I could see them like being separate through that first movie, and then the end of the first movie is they're finally together, they're on the same page, let's go to that next mountain or whatever happens. Yeah, and I can see them doing that. So yeah, it looks like he's pulling from different things that we love and putting the Zack Snyder code on it.
Nice. And yeah, just this cast is amazing. It's Sofia Boutella, who's totally appreciated. Ed Skrein, another guy, Jenna Malone, Anthony Hopkins. And look, Anthony Hopkins is a lot like Morgan Freeman. They could read the phone book, and I'd be entertained. Yeah. And then of course Carrie Elwes, as you wish. As the Princess Bride. So, yeah, I love the idea of this film. And that first trailer, when the first trailer dropped, that was... it's weird. A teaser trailer, but it's 3.5 minutes long. So, it was a huge amount of footage that they put into
it's teasing 2 films, that's why.
Oh, okay. And then that makes sense if they did like they did with, like Peter Jackson did with Lord of the Rings, and shoot 2 or 3 films back to back to back, all at once. That makes sense and a good way to save money. Granted, Netflix is not suffering on money, but movies are expensive.
Yeah, they're getting more and more expensive as we go.
So it'll be interesting to see. Do you think that we'll get a tiny theatrical release for Rebel Moon as it comes out around Christmas time?
He's pushing for it to get a theatrical release. And Netflix, when it comes to their bigger films, they usually give it a week.
Yeah.
So that's in order to get Oscar considerations. If the VFX is as good as it looks throughout the film, it could get a VFX nom. Yeah, so I think just like Glass Onion and Extraction and a bunch of other films that they have confidence in, and the way they have confidence in. After Army of Dead, I think they have full confidence in Zack Snyder, because that and Army of Thieves were big for them. It got them subscribers. People watch those, and they're doing a third one.
And Army of the Dead was a lot. It was a lot better than I was expecting. Yeah,
me too.
It was because
I'm a fan of him.
Yeah, and it was because it was fun. Which I think that's my biggest criticism with Zack Snyder is some of his, like, I love 300. Because it's just epic and grand, and I love Sucker Punch, but some of his films can be...
Sucker Punch fan.
Yeah, and just the visuals alone in Sucker Punch are brilliant, and then why the guy from Mad Men shows up at the very end is sort of beyond me, but I love John Hamm, but why is the guy from Mad Men here? But some of his movies suffer a little bit from the lack of fun. And Army of the Dead was a lot of fun. So yeah, this one looks like a grand epic. And I think this could be like, so as Lord of the Rings is to Peter Jackson, I think this could be Rebel Moon as to Zack Snyder, hopefully. So
yeah, and I think if he brings that fun there, and that because the cinematography feels like Sucker Punch /300. Style and less like his DC stuff. So if he could bring that epicness and fun into it, I think that it'll be a winner.
and his sense of visuals, his sense of style is unlike anyone else. I think the closest thing would be like a Tim Burton, but Tim Burton is his own style. Like this
he's
is
more
like
stylized. Like
like
set design.
Yeah, I mean, like if you took Tim Burton and gave him like an entire truck full of Red Bull and Slim Jims, to me that would be Zack Snyder. Like, lock him in lock him in a shipping container full of Red Bull and Slim Jims, and he emerges as Zack Snyder fully formed. 300, yes, ancient Greece,
dude. And like you talked about, I think, which director was you were talking about? Michael Mann, how he's like the director. Zack Snyder like takes the camera and shoots a lot of the shots himself.
Oh yeah,
which a lot of directors don't do that anymore. They have someone to operate the camera and they direct it. So I just like the personal touch he adds to his films.
Yeah, and he always seems like he has such a specific vision to things as well. Looks that would look. Rebel Moon looks epic in its appearance for that. My number one is it's Dune Part 2. For some reason, it's not Dune 2 because they've already done one of those. But Dune Part 2, it's Denis Villeneuve, it's Timothée Chalamet, it's Zendaya, it's everyone from every other movie that you love.
Jason Momoa died in the last one. Spoiler alert.
But he's in the franchise. Oscar Isaac. We've got Dave Bautista. We've got
Ferguson.
We've got Stellan Skarsgård, who probably needs to go on the Brendan Fraser weight loss plan after this one, after The Whale. Even Rebecca Ferguson. And again, depressing that Rebecca Ferguson is old enough to play the mom of Timothée Chalamet. But all these really super talented actors in a film that the first film was so epic that I don't mind pronouncing Denis Villeneuve, like the full French pronunciation to his name. Like, all right, Dennis. But no, it's Denis Villeneuve. Who's not so full of himself that he's not at least fun during interviews and a good artist. So look, the effects in the first film. I am the first person that makes fun of CGI. And this is true. My literal fantasy football team name is CGI Ruins Movies. That is my fantasy football team name. Has been for over 10 years now. So you could picture my thoughts on CGI in general, but in the first film in Dune, and I was shocked that they didn't shoot both these films back to back. But the effects, the CGI effects in that film are phenomenal. Even just something as simple as the mosquito wings on the little air carrier, the airplane thing, as they flew around is phenomenal. And look, I can't pretend to be an expert on Frank Herbert and the books. I think I tried reading the books when I was in high school, and it didn't grab me in the way that Lord of the Rings grabbed me. But it's a phenomenal world. I love that the original 1984 film has both Emperor Palpatine and Captain Picard. So the fact that this original material has been getting great British actors to go out into the desert to be in a sci-fi film for 40 years already is amazing to me. So,
and it inspired Star Wars. This is the thing that inspired Star Wars to be created. So I'm really excited that it's getting its due at the same time.
Yeah, and the original I believe it's the origin of giant sandworms, because you see Tremors. And you even see Star Wars now with sandworms and sand creatures that are huge, devouring everything in sight. I believe, I don't know if I'm sure there's probably nothing's original anywhere, but the first place I saw anything like that was in Dune from Frank Herbert. I'm sure someone could probably point me wrong, but in terms of pop culture,
he's the one that
that made it huge and spectacular. So all of that. Dune Part 2, not Dune 2. By the way, Dune 2, as far as like PC video games, like 10, 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, I guess technically, a great video game, PC game. But yeah, Dune Part 2, November 3rd is my number one film.
Speaking of games, we're getting a game based off this movie.
Yeah. And I hope it's going to be as good as the film looks.
Yeah, me too.
It looks good.
So good.
As we just kind of go over your list a little bit one more time. I like both of our lists, and there's not much. There's I think 5 or 6 films that cross over between the two. But I like that our lists are different, and yet I think we have similar tastes in films. So kind of reflect a little bit for me on your list, and tell me if after. Oh gosh, I'm sorry, I didn't intend for this live stream to go on this long, but we've been going on for 3 hours now. Tell me after talking about this list for the last 3 hours, would you change anything on this list? Would you change any films out? Would you change where they are on the list? And reflect for me a little bit on your list here.
There's some films that you mentioned that I can't name exactly right now that I'll probably swap out for some of the films that I have on here. I probably would take out Equalizer 3. I probably might take out Anatomy of the Fall. And slide some of the films that you brought up that I never heard of, like Dumb Money. Well, I heard Dumb Money, but I forgot about it when I was making this list. So I'd probably slide Dumb Money in here. There's another film that you mentioned that sounded really interesting that I probably would slide in here. One of the romantic comedies, because I'm a big romantic comedy guy. So the fact that I didn't know some were coming out, you know, the one with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell, I'm actually looking forward to. So I would
anyone swap. But you.
Yeah, anyone, but I would probably swap one of those in there because I didn't know that was coming out this year. I thought it was next year. Yeah, so I'll probably swap those 2 films out because like Equalizer 3, I'm excited, but I'm not super duper excited for it. And then the Enemy of the Fall, the more I started talking about it, more I'm like, it might end up being a Lifetime film. So I can swap those out and put some of those other films you talked about in there. And now I have more films to anticipate because you put me onto things I didn't know, like Ferrari. I didn't even know that was coming out. So,
and any of these films you think will be which of these films, by the way, do you think will be a sneaky hit? Like people are aware of it, but then it'll in the same way that Barbie, people were aware of Barbie, but then as soon as Barbie came out, it exploded. And I don't think anyone thought that Barbie would make $1 billion. So any of these films you think will be a sneak hit that people really aren't are going to go like, holy crap, like that film is making that much money or is that kind of critical praise? Anything like that?
I don't see anything Barbie level, but in terms of just being successful, I think one of the 2, I think my 7, 8, and 9 have potential to be sneakers, Bottoms, Next Goal Wins, and Wonka.
Yep.
If they get really high review scores, especially Wonka, that's the one that's going to be the most famous out of the 3 of these. Have high review scores, and maybe Timothée Chalamet can bring some people to the theater. So far, he hasn't. Then Wonka could definitely do big business. And Next Goal Wins because it's Taika, and he has his fan base, and it looks fun. And Michael Fassbender is not a box office super draw, but he does make people go, he's in this. Who else is in there? Yeah. You know, he's that kind of. So they might go check it out, launch the trailer. This looks funny. And then Bottoms, just because I think it's coming out right at the right time for a comedy. We don't have much coming out in the beginning of September, so people might catch on to it because it's gotten such great reviews. So I think it might be a breakout comedy.
It'll be interesting to see too. I'm forgetting her name, but the writer director of Bottoms. It'll be interesting to see if Bottoms is a big hit, what her next film is, or if she gets like the big blockbuster film.
Yeah, I could see somebody picking her up because Shiva Baby, which was her first film, her first big one, who also starred Rachel Sano, who stars in this next one. So I guess that's her partner in crime.
And that was a surprisingly good film too. Like tiny film shot, I think on Long Island somewhere. There's some looks of it is just all shot at a funeral or whatever it was, and also Shiva Baby had had Diana Agron
Yeah, another
as
actress that's
Brimley.
underrated.
Yeah. So yeah, so totally underrated, but yeah, that Sheba Baby was a good film.
Yeah.
Looking at my list, it's always hard coming up with these lists, especially when it's a couple months out. But that's part of the fun of it too. And some of these films, they're not higher on my list because they don't have trailers yet, which surprises me a little bit, considering that trailers now are sort of in the can for 6 months to a year. So
Yeah.
the fact that we haven't gotten, the fact that the theater companies know that we're all of us on YouTube are doing our fall Christmas videos now, live streams, and they haven't released some of these trailers worries me a little bit. But we go with what we have when we have it, and
This is a
I'm
strike.
super excited for all the films on this list. I think like some of the ones like sort of like your list, like there's some of the ones on there that I think I might put on my list. Like the Creator is one that as going through this and talking about it, I'm like, that actually sounds really good. Other ones, like the Holdovers, I'm
Oh yeah.
excited, and I love Alexander Payne, but it's one that I just don't know. It's more like the name recognition that's
Mm,
really exciting me, and it's Paul Giamatti.
yeah.
I love the names, I love the setting, but it's not higher on my list for whatever reason, and I don't know what
Yeah.
that reason is. But yeah, like a lot of these, the rom coms especially, love at first sight. Anyone but you, and some. She came to me. The ones
Yeah.
the ones that are fun to even just say the title of, looking forward to. So yeah,
Yeah.
really looking
Oh yeah,
forward to.
Persian version too. I
Yeah,
would swap that into that premise sounds really crazy.
and the fact that we haven't had the Persian Virgin as well, I think is probably that one's got to be coming next. And
That
if we
should have
have,
been when that should have been called. If she's a
yeah,
lesbian, at
yeah,
least she probably was a virgin when that happened.
the immaculate birth of the pregnant. Yeah,
Yes.
I
Oh
can
my
totally
god.
see that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for all the films on that list. And then one last trip to the chat window. See for yourself. Let's see. Killers of the Flower Moon seems like an experience. I totally agree. Got to see that in theaters. And and he loved Gran Turismo. Uh, I wish I did too. Love the people in Gran Turismo. Love and Archie Mediquit, man. He was really good as Jan Mardenborough.
Yeah. His performance got better and better as the movie progressed.
Yeah, and I did laugh too. David Harbour, and David Harbour is an American, but I don't think I've ever heard an American actor try and overpronounce an American accent as much as he did in Gran Turismo. Like, and I get it, Formula One, and I know this wasn't foreign, but motorsports are bigger in Europe, and just the way he was pronouncing his American accent sounded,
He was over
it.
stereotyping, compensating.
Yeah, you know what it sounded? It sounded like when Seth MacFarlane on American Dad often does the voiceover guy.
Yeah.
As the forced voiceover guy, that it almost kind of felt like that with David Harbour in that role.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Especially speeches.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, he's the lovable oaf with the heart of gold that wants to. I'm gonna make you fail so that you succeed.
Typecast.
Yeah, a little bit, yes, absolutely. But that's our list. So,
Yeah, man.
thank you for coming on. Anything you'd like to plug coming up over the next couple weeks? Or I know you've already plugged some of the videos you have coming out this week. What do you have coming up this month and over the next couple months? What are you?
Yeah. So in the immediate this Wednesday, I have a live stream celebrating hitting 600 subscribers. I'm gonna have a digital giveaway of Guardians Galaxy Volume 3, so that should be really great. I'm gonna have a gonna play a game on here that I'm trying to figure out of charades to see if I can play it with the people watching. So that should be fun. Obviously, it's also gonna be an Ask Me Anything Q&A, so people could just ask me questions about anything. But in between, just to have a little bit of fun, to do some things like that. Bottoms coming out this Friday. I'm gonna be go checking it out and hopefully get a review out for that. I should have my ranking list for all the movies I saw in August coming out soon, either the first or the second, sometime on the weekend, probably. I still have some films like Cobweb that I missed that I want to check out before I make my list. And yeah, just reacting to the big trailers. I have a Why I Love Going to the Theater film that I'm working on where I go through some of my movie tickets that I've saved. So that should be really, really fun. I've noticed that me doing like videos about like my personal experiences and things about like what I like have done well. So I want to lean more into that. And I just, just having a fun time. Like that's what I love to do. I have a series on my channel called The Movies That Made Us, where I interview content creators like Dragon, who I'm gonna off camera, we'll set it up so you can come on my channel and do that. That's going to be real fun. And I have a Preston who was in the chat for a little bit. I believe this is his month to do it. So I'm really excited to do that for September. And yeah, check out Zach Attack Reviews, man.
Absolutely. Check out Zach Attack Reviews. I would be curious to see too. And now that you mentioned all of the different Zachs in the movie review space,
yeah.
When you finally get all of the Zachs in one place, I'm curious to see. I really want to see that video. Is it like is it just going to be is it going to break into a giant Saved by the Bell episode where it's all
I'm gonna have to make it thematic like that.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Start bringing in Zach and Cody and
Zach
the Black Ranger. Let's just get references from all. I guess Zachary Taylor, the president. Let's just get all the Zachs.
Every Zach is welcome at the heck. And you never know. 5-10 years from now, you could have Zach Con.
Yeah,
you have the Zach convention. Zach. That's even better. Zachapalooza. Oh man, if you don't have the copyright for that, get the copywriter the trademark for Zachapalooza. That's brilliant. I love that. So Zach from Zach Attack Reviews, thank you for coming on, Dragon Movie Guy. I'm sorry we've gone 3.5 hours now, but I think it's a quick 3.5 hours. I appreciate all of your time. And everyone check out Zach Attack Reviews. Like, subscribe, share. I think honestly, you probably have brought more viewers to my channel than I'm going to drive to yours. But I'm going to do my best to say, everyone, check out Zach Attack Reviews over on his YouTube channel. Also, links in the video description below. I have your Twitter, if they still call it Twitter, or if it's X or whatever. We got the Twitter, we've got the Instagram, we even have your Patreon link there too. So
appreciate that.
And any other links that you want, I'll put in the video description afterwards. But all of that, if you want to get in touch with Zach, in the video description below this video. So thank you very much, everybody. With that, I think we're gonna say goodbye. Thanks for checking this out, and
subscribe to him, like his video, share his video,
and subscribe to him too. Or sorry, I set up the live stream. I should know which side I'm on. Yeah, check out Zach too. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you guys next time. See you, everybody.